Commissioners meeting of October the 30th, 2023. I am Briggs Simmons, Planning and Zoning Chair. Prior to this meeting, announcements were posted and notices were sent to all board members, commissioners, staff, interested parties, and applicants participating in this meeting. I will now turn the meeting over to Phil Miller, Chairman of the Commissioners, to introduce and confirm the presence of the Commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Can we take a roll call of the Commissioners? Vice Chair?
Present.
Mr. Alcarez? Mr. Dobbs?
Present.
Mr. Robinson?
Mr. Chair, present.
And I'm here. We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now, also present, we have members of the Planning and Zoning Board. If you would confirm your presence as I call your name. Rob Thomas, our Vice Chair.
Present.
Teresa Knowles. Present. Oric Curry.
Present.
Brandon Penniman.
Present.
Frank Payne. And Kirk Nicholson. We do have a quorum. Allison Duncan, our Planning and Zoning Manager, will now introduce the county staff and Planning and Zoning staff present in the meeting. Ms. Duncan?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have with us our Director of Development Services, James Worthington. We have our representative from Douglas County Department of Transportation, Carla Pashedley. We have our Senior Zoning Administrator, Phil Schaefer. We have our Senior Planner, Jaquel Johnson. We have our County Attorney's Office, Cheryl Ringer. We have our Planning and Zoning Clerk, Johanna Womack. And we have our Planning and Zoning Secretary, Kim Waters. And as always, we appreciate our sheriff's deputies and our communication staff who are here with us this evening as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Duncan. There's a reversionary clause that applies to each rezoning, and that is the applicant, the agent, or the property owner has 24 months to vest the zoning change after the Board of Commissioners grant an approval. As far as tonight's procedures go, I will conduct a public hearing on each matter. Planning and zoning staff will announce each application, followed by a full presentation on the application. The applicant or the applicant's representative and members of the public in favor of an application will be able to present their information. Each person will have 2 minutes for a total allocated time of 15 minutes to speak on behalf of an application. Members of the public in opposition to an application will be able to present their information. They also will have 2 minutes per person for a total allocated time of 15 minutes to speak in opposition. After the opposition has completed their input or the time has elapsed, the public hearing will be officially closed. At this point, the staff will clarify any points of the zoning case. If the staff is unable to satisfy our boards, then the applicant or the applicant's representative may be asked questions to clarify. And this is not a time for them to represent their case. After that, planning and zoning members will entertain a motion. Our first agenda item tonight, I will turn the meeting over to our Vice Chair, Rob Thomas, who was in charge of the meeting on October the 3rd to approve the minutes. Mr. Thomas.
Call for a vote to approve the minutes from October 3rd, 2023 meeting.
Mr. Vice Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 3rd, 2023 meeting.
Thank you. Have a second?
Frank Payne.
We have a approval and a second. I get a vote, please? Vote for approval, please raise your hand. We have a unanimous approval. Pass it back over to the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioners, the meeting on October the 3rd minutes has been approved by the board, the zoning board. Can I get a vote from you guys? All in favor of approval of the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from
Have a
October
second.
3rd, 2020.
All in favor? Minutes are approved, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Duncan, would you present our first or our next agenda item, please?
Sure thing. The first item on the agenda tonight is Z 2023-62. This was a rezoning request that was tabled at our last meeting, so the first order of business would be to take this from the table, please.
Okay, Planning and Zoning Board, do I hear a motion to untable Z 2023-62?
It's Brandon Penman. I make a motion to untable application Z 2023-62.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Or Curry, second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of untabling Z 2023-62, please indicate by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
We're recommending that we untable Z 2023-62.
Board of Commissioners, the Planning and Zoning Board is recommending that we untable Z 2023-62. Do I have a motion?
Chairman, I make untable.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same. The motion is approved, sir.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan?
All right, so this is a rezoning request that was first presented to you in September. We have continued to work with the applicant to try to make progress on the specific provisions of their overall development standards, and I'm pleased to say that we have made a tremendous amount of progress on this. There are still two main issues with which we have kind of come to a draw, and at this time, what I would like to recommend, if you are inclined, you don't have to go in this direction, but what I would like to recommend to you is that this application be withdrawn, but we will defer any fees in terms of application fees if it comes back to you within the next 12 months from the date of this meeting. At that time, we will only charge the cost of signs when the application is presented. I'm concerned that if we continue to table this item, we have kind of lost the train of notice to the community. So when the applicant has asked for us to table it again, I was not comfortable with supporting that recommendation. They can certainly make their ask of you to table if you're inclined to do so. But my recommendation is rather than tabling, they be allowed to withdraw and then come back at a time that they're ready without having to repay an application fee, but they just pay for the cost of signs so that we will re-advertise in the newspaper, we will resend the letters to the adjacent property owners, and then we will repost the property at such a time as they're ready to move forward within the next 12 months. And Joe Fowler is here on behalf of the applicant if you would like to hear more from him specifically in regard to his request to remove it at this time.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Duncan. Mr. Fowler?
Joe Fowler, Post Office Box 49, Douglasville. Good evening, everyone. This application is about as complicated as you see. It's listed on the schedule for tonight. We've worked very hard to try to get this done. We came very close. I've spoken with some of you about that. We'd like another month, but I understand about the problem of the Zoning Procedures Act and appropriate notice. We're glad to go either way. We're here with Chris West tonight. He agrees that either approach is fine. We think we can work it out in 30 days, but we don't want to come back for another tabling. Our suggestion is, if, as she has suggested, you allow us to come back without having to pay the application fee, we think we'll have everything done by the first of the year. So we'll go either way you suggest. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Mr. Fowler. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the discussion. Do I have a motion? Or do we need a motion to withdraw?
Again, the staff is ready to move forward with this evening, with this presentation, but if it is the inclination of the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Commissioners to allow them to withdraw without having to refile application fees, we would either be looking for a motion to table or a motion to allow withdrawal and waiver of the future application fees for this item.
Okay, thank you very much. Planning and Zoning Board? What is your desire?
Chairman, this is Rob Thomas. I make a motion to withdraw application Z 2023-62 and refund and
Waive.
waive the application fee for this applicant and just charge them for the signs when they reapply.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Planning and Zoning Board? Hearing none, all in favor of allowing Z 2023-62 to withdraw with the condition that was stated, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Z 60, Z 2023-62 comes to the board with a recommendation to allow withdrawal and a waiver of the application fee. If it's refiled within 12 months, the only thing they would pay for is the signage.
Okay.
That was unanimous.
Board of Commissioners, we have a motion, a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Board to Z 2023-62 to be withdrawn and waive the application fee if they come back before the board within 12 months. Is that correct? Did I say that right? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Chairman, I make a motion. Allow the applicant to withdraw the application with the waive of the application fee. When they apply with our, also
I have a motion. Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion's approved, sir.
Thank you very much. And before we get to the next agenda item, S 2023-67 has been withdrawn. If there's anyone in the gallery that's here for that particular matter, it has been withdrawn from the schedule. Okay, next item.
And one other item, we have had a request to table. Phil, would you like to speak to this one?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. So this evening, Cameron Property Company has requested that they be tabled to December 5th meeting so that they can work out some site planning issues. We met with the neighborhood and there were some concerns about how the siting of the project was going to work, and they would like just a little more time to go out and actually evaluate the site in more detail to correct where the building might be going, and so they're asking to be tabled until 12/5. That would be Z 2023-66 and M 2023-03.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schaefer. Planning and Zoning Board, do I have a recommendation on Z 2023-66 and M 2023-03?
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation to table Z 2023-66 and M 2023-3 until the December 5th meeting.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Or Curry, second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this? Hearing none, everyone in favor of tabling this item, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, Z 2023-66 and M 2023-03 come to y'all with a recommendation to table until December the 5th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
Board of Commissioners, we have a recommendation to table Z 2023-66 and M 2023-03 from the Planning and Zoning Board. Do I have a motion?
Chairman, I move that we table Z 2023-6, M 2023.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same. Motion carries, sir.
Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Mr. Johnson, do you have our next agenda item, please?
Yes. Good evening, Planning Zoning Board. Good meeting, Board of Commissioners. So the next case is S 2023-65, the application for a special use permit. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow tutoring from the home in RLD, residential low density, located at 4805 Central Church Road, Douglasville 30135. The parcel is 0.44 acres in size. As far as planning concerns, Section 334A2, home business, a home occupation that is limited to the use of practicing professional or artist, a family daycare, or to the office use of the operator of a business, and may involve limited visits or access by clients or customers, but does not involve the maintenance, repair, storage, or transfer of merchandise received at the home. Before you have the zoning map. The subject parcel is highlighted in red. And this is the aerial image of the property with the arrow pointing to the property. This is a survey of the property with the arrow pointing to it. And this is a street view of the property. On the left, you have the front image of the home, and on the right, you have a side view. And based on the special use permit criteria, staff finds the applicant does meet the criteria, and staff is recommending approval of special use permit S2023-65 with the following findings. The use will not substantially modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or the spirit of Douglas County Unified Development Code. The use will not negatively impact surrounding properties, and granting the special use permit will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. And that concludes my presentation. I believe the applicant is here as well if you have any further questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application, including the applicant or the applicant's representative, please approach the podium. You would have 2 minutes per person for an allocated time of 15 minutes. If you would, when you get to the podium, state your name and address for the record before you start, please.
Hi, my name is Yashi Israel.
And your address?
4805 Central Church Road, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135.
Okay. And what would you like to say in favor of your application?
In favor of my application, I'm excited to want to teach students and hope I get approval for that. It's my passion, and it will be no disturbance. I think it actually will be beneficial to the children in the area.
Okay, if you would just take a seat right there, I'm sure we may have some questions for you in just a moment. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium. Seeing no one moving, I will close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application, please approach the podium. You two would have also 2 minutes per person for an allocated time of 15 minutes. Seeing no one moving again, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the presentation. Do you have any questions or comments of the applicant or of staff?
Brandon, go ahead. All right, this is Brandon Penman. I do have a couple questions for the applicant, please. Okay, so first question is, you're looking to do in-home tutoring, I see here. Now, are you looking at any type of daycare, or what's your number of students that you're looking to have at one time?
So it's just tutoring or homeschooling.
Okay.
No daycare, and that's a different code or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm particularly only interested in teaching students, which is a short-term period of time that student would be in the presence, which means it wouldn't be no more than a child or two at a time.
Okay. All right, and that's including for the homeschooling, just you thinking about 1 or 2 at a time, and then for the tutoring as well, it'll probably be 1 or 2 students, individual sessions?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. That was my biggest question.
Okay.
I'll do it, thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Just wanted to
Yes. They actually excited to want it move forward if it's approved.
what are the age criteria? You have different age groups? How are you
Particularly certified for early childhood education. So that would be if,
18 to 24? 18 to 24. 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 18 to
most of them that will be interested is first graders, second graders, fifth grade sometimes. It's a fluctuation of different and depending on need.
One or two.
Yes.
Homeschool?
Yes, if it's needed. Well, some of them are already at home and just need guidance with their work, so they'll reach out. Most of the time, I was talk to them on the phone or guide them virtually. So sometimes when you have a child one-on-one in person, they work better. And since they are homeschooled already, it's just to basically groom or touch up on all of their work for the week that they have done already. And it's usually a few hours at most, the same as tutoring.
Rob Thomas, have a question. So, will the parents drop the students off, or will they stay? How does that work?
They have the option to stay or go.
Okay. What about the parking requirements? Do you have parking in your driveway? They got park on the street? How's the parking set?
Driveway.
You have room
It's
in
a
your
long driveway. Mm-hmm.
And what are your hours?
Hours, I open it during the regular school time hours. I do have option of late hours due to parents getting off at 6 o'clock and may want a late tutoring session, but it's very rare, I would think, that would be used because of the students' bedtimes. So I just left it as an option to have it a little later, just in case they want to still have a tutoring session for an older child.
How late is that typically? Do you think it would be?
About 8.
There's no problem with the ordinance with that, correct? I have no questions. Thank you.
Any other questions, planning and zoning? Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, I'll throw it over to the Board of Commissioners for any questions you may have of the applicant or staff.
Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Vice Chair Carthen?
Ms. Yisrael, how long have you been doing this?
Over 10 years. I started when I first moved here, going to school for education, and I used to just travel tutor. And so when I moved to Douglasville, I said maybe instead of traveling, I can, try to station and make a name for myself as a teacher. I like to do more creativity. So given a different approach than was standard in school would help different individuals.
Thank you for that. And since you're in my district, I know exactly where you're located, which is a good area, and you got schools around you. So, yeah, you should do pretty well if this board approves it. Thank you. I yield.
Anyone else? Back to you, sir.
Thank you very much. You may have a seat.
Thank you.
Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the discussion, the presentations. Do I have a motion on application S 2023-65?
This is Frank Payne. I make approval for S 2023-65, request for special use permit to allow tutoring from the home in the residential density zoning located at 4805 Central Church Road, Douglasville, 30135, with the findings as
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Rob Thomas, a second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call on a vote. All in favor of approving S 2023-65, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Mr. Chair, S 2023-65 comes to you for the recommendation for approval unanimously.
Yes, sir. Board of Commissioners, we have a recommendation of approval for S 2023-65. Do I have a motion?
Chairman Miller, I move that we approve S 2023-65.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same. It's approved, sir.
Thank you very much. We wish you the best of luck with your venture here. Thank you. Well, I have our next agenda item, please, Mr. Schaefer.
Mr. Chairman, S 2023-68 for Ms. Kamiko Lawrence, requested actions for a special use permit to allow outdoor event from the home, the RLD, Residential Low Density Zoning District at 5300 Pamela Drive. The request for this property, which is a subject property on the west side of Pamela Drive, contains large single-family residence on a large lot, 10 acres, with a barn in the back as well. The applicant is proposing to continue to operate the in-home business as a yoga day retreat with a number of additional activities being requested. The full activity list includes some educational classes on topics including but not limited to beekeeping, gardening, nutrition and food and canning, outdoor yoga events including exercise, sound healing, prayer and meditation, and private gatherings for family and friends, birthday celebrations and graduation celebrations, engagement parties, etc. Friends Family Volunteer Day to assist with landscaping the property and cleanup, and an annual Healing Connection event for family-friendly music, vegetarian food, and camping. The applicant proposes the following operational description: crowd size not to expected to exceed 50, and parking on the property without obstruction of roadway or neighbors' driveways. I've added a couple of pictures of sort of representative events. On the left is a yoga event held on the property. On the right is an equivalent annual healing event, which was held not on the premises but at a different location, so that you can kind of understand what she's actually asking for. Again, here's some sample example pictures. On the left and the right are the property itself. And here's some educational classes for beekeeping as well as training. This background for this is the special use authorization for this was initially approved for a 2-year period in June of 2018. And then again in 2020, the permit was authorized without any time restriction, and staff was just directed to do an on-site inspection at the anniversary, verify all the conditions were complied with. The 2018 site plan featured an existing barn that was to be converted to include a yoga studio, dry sauna, commercial kitchen for snacks and meal preparation, and an office space, and a classroom. Site plan also included a fire pit, edible garden, labyrinth, parking, and a walking trail with a pavilion. The applicant may still construct these uses over time, but to date, none have actually been constructed. Then there was a fence structure that was erected along the northern property line to place a barrier between the northern property neighbor and this property, which was the subject of special exception variance V 2023-06. It was denied in March 3rd of 2023. It has been taken down since. I just wanted you to see the background here, some of the ordinances that were approved, and the ordinance from 2020-32 with a number of conditions and that she is still working through. One of the reasons this evening we're here is to allow for some additional expansion of the uses. We did hold the community information meeting on October 10th, where we had approximately a dozen folks come in and express concerns and challenge of the issue over traffic from events, overnight camping, parking events, and potential crime, operating the business as in a residential setting, property values being degraded because of businesses there, and particularly potential for loud music or noise being generated by events that go on the property. We also have letters in support that have been submitted to staff by way of email as well as regular mail to support the activities. We had originally 11 come in, but I think a 12th has actually come in earlier today, so there's a dozen letters in the file. This was an example letter that you can see in support of the project. This is a zoning map showing that the entire neighborhood, including this property, is residential low density. Here's an aerial image of the property to show that there is the house there, and there is the existing barn to the side. This is a site plan and a survey. So on the left is the survey of the 3 properties that combine to make up the overall property of about 10 acres. On the right is the 2020 and 2018 site plan, which was the 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 2018 site plan ambitious, and then we had the pandemic, and of course, a lot of things happened at that point in time that prevented her from completing some of the work that they had originally tried to do. And then here, I have asked them to provide us with a measured parking area site plan to show me where the parking spaces they could use would be interior to the property, so that we're not having any cars on the streets, and so they were able to provide some measured spaces. Those are the typical 9 to 10 foot wide by 20 foot, 18 to 20 foot deep parking spaces. One of the issues that comes up is parking too close to the street, so there'll be some setback requirements and some screening requirements for this, should we go forward with the project. This is a street view of the property as you're looking down Pamela Drive. On the right there is the driveway into the property, showing you it's a little bit open, and the grassy area on the right is quite open, so having parking there is a little bit problematic. The left photo here is where the very tall fence and the variance was requested, which is, as you can see, has been removed since, and then the zoning advertising sign. We have reviewed this against the criteria for the special use, and all of the criteria, save the hours and manner of operation, are supportive of the request. In order to get the project to be supported by that, will the hours of operation and manner of this special use be compatible with the neighbors? There are some conditions of approval that we'll get to in a minute that will help adjust this. Staff is recommending approval of S 2023-68 with the following conditions and directives to staff. First, this condition is important. All prior conditions are rescinded in favor of the following conditions for this special use approval. And number two, the special use is authorized for an in-home yoga studio, whether the sessions are indoors or outdoors, and educational classes to be held on the described premises with the stipulations as follows. Apologies, there's quite a list of conditions, and I'll go through them so that you can all absorb them. Number three, the restroom facilities installed in the carport area currently serving clients and participants must be inspected and approved by the Douglas County Building Department and Cobb-Douglas County Public Health Department to verify its continued use meets the applicable code standards for the given number of participants attending yoga sessions. Until such time as this facility can be authorized and confirmed that it can accommodate additional participants, no expansion of the program shall be permitted, and the use shall be limited to the current maximum of 5 participants. Upon confirmation that the restroom facility is capable of handling additional loading, the maximum number of participants may be expanded. Should the current restroom not be capable of accommodating an increased loading capacity, no expansion of the special use program shall be permitted until sufficient capacity for permanent restroom facilities are added and authorized under applicable code sections and reviewing departments. Number 4, upon confirmation as required in condition 3, yoga sessions or educational classes, whether indoor or outdoor, including exercise, sound healing, prayer, and meditation, are permitted with a limit to the number of participants of 25 maximum per session. 5, the hours of operation will be Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., Saturday noon to 8 p.m., and Sunday shall be noon to 6 p.m. Number 6, being within the Dog River Basin at the time a pavilion is constructed according to the 2018 site plans, the applicant would need to apply for a stream buffer variance, plus floodplain structural requirements would need to be met. Walking trails are allowed if they are natural surface trails without changing the natural grade, and this is due to the proposed location being within 200 feet of the lake. Number 7, all requirements of the Douglas County Unified Code Development Code and the Douglas County Code of Ordinances shall be met. Number 8, parking areas sufficient to allow up to 25 participants on a daily basis shall be marked and provided along the edges and aprons of the existing circular paved driveway, as shown in the submitted parking plan, sufficiently deep into the property such that they would be obscured by the existing trees and landscaping from the street and neighbors as best as practical. 9, a landscaping screening shall be required if vehicles are parked in the open grass yard areas towards the northerly end of the property along the Pamela Drive street frontage. That parking area must meet the requirements of Article 6 and 8 of the UDC, and any required landscaping must be approved by the Douglas County Arborist. Any such parking shall maintain a 50-foot setback from the adjoining northerly property line and a 30-foot setback from the street property line. Number 10, There shall be no parking of client or participant vehicles within the public right-of-way of Pamela Drive at any time. Number 11, any additional accessory structures must be reviewed and approved by the applicable Douglas County departments and by the Douglas County Water and Sewer Authority. Number 12, improvements to the barn to accommodate a yoga studio or other occupancy-related use must be approved by the Douglas County Building Department, and any additional septic system improvements must be approved by the Douglas County Public Health Department. 13, the requested annual larger event is authorized for up to 50 participants, with hours to be limited to 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Parking shall be arranged around the outside edges of the existing circular driveway so as to remain obscured from the view of the street and the neighboring properties to the maximum extent practical. 14, no commercial donation client-attended overnight events are permissible. And number 15, any other use of the property not identified within Section 210 uses allowed in each zone district. Specifically, Table 2.2, principal uses allowed by right, and 2.3, accessory uses allowed by right. The Douglas County Unified Development Code may require the submission, review, and approval of another special use permit or amendment to the existing special use permit. With that, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schaefer. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application, including the applicant or the applicant's representative, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. You will have 2 minutes per person for an allocated time of 15 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kamiko Lawrence, and I reside at 5300 Pamela Drive in Douglasville. I am the applicant. For the past 19 years, I've lived, worked, and played in Douglas County. The practice of yoga as a teacher and student have been a significant part of my life. The word yoga means union, to join together. I've taught in our parks, schools, various local venues, even in this very courthouse. Those who know me know that I'm a person who is compassionate, loving, kind, and generous. As a mother of 5 who spent 20 years homeschooling, sharing, and teaching is something that I genuinely love. In all my years of being a person who teaches and practices healing, connection, and peace, it is initially puzzling to me that my neighbors are and have been vehemently opposed to me offering healing and educational events on my property. What I do know is that the preferences of my neighbors have very little to do with me. Unlike my neighbors, I've extended a hand in an effort to understand their concerns and seek common ground. I've made several attempts to speak with the Haglers, who I'm sure are present here this evening, and leading the effort to oppose my request. I asked about compromise resolution, and basically the answer is you just not having any yoga on the weekends is the answer for them. I've received less than friendly emails from Ms. Weitzer. That is also in the record, in case you wish to see that. At the community meeting, each question and concern was addressed. It's worth noting that the question was asked about crime. And for the record, we nor any of our guests have ever broken any laws, caused any property damage, or been accused of any crime. Another neighbor stated that someone partially blocked her driveway. And when I asked, can you tell me about it? Why didn't you just share that with me? The response was, I didn't want to be a troublemaker. So I'm just here. We are here once again. I feel like I've been here multiple times asking for ways to help people, which is disheartening to me. But thank you for your time, consideration, and just hearing me out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Before you leave the podium, you heard the 15 conditions that were read into the record.
Yes,
Are you
sir.
in agreement with those conditions?
Yes, we are, and I spoke with Mr. Schaefer, so yes.
Okay,
We're
great.
fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then you will have 2 minutes.
My name is Elaine Mayo, and I live at 4893 Falling Leaf Court in Douglasville. I have known Kamiko and Mark since 2009. I stumbled into her yoga class in LA Fitness and became hooked on yoga, and it is because of her that I'm a yoga teacher as well. So anybody that's unfamiliar with the practice of yoga, it is about healing. It healed my life. It's allowed me to bring others to the mat, and I promise each and every one of you, if you would just come and get on the mat, we would not have to discuss anything but how to do downward dog a little bit better. So what I would love to do is just invite everybody out. It's a unifying thing. It's a healing thing. In this post-COVID world where we've not learned how to deal with one another so well anymore, this is a great chance for this community to come together, and I'll teach for free. So please vote for this.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? If you would state your name and address for the record, then you have 2 minutes also, please.
Okay, my name is Geraldine Winston. I'm at 3250 Kingsdale Drive, Atlanta, Georgia. I have known Mark and Kamiko Lawrence for around 10 years. I knew of them and their good works on behalf of wellness and healthy living long before I had the privilege of meeting them. I met Kamiko through our common interests in kombucha and yoga and partnered with her to share in producing our kombucha and practice yoga together. I got to know her beautiful family through this experience and have even more appreciation for their strong commitment, dedication, and character, as exhibited by the fruit of their labor and family values as well as community activism. I have since had many opportunities to gather at the space Kamiko so lovingly offers as a safe space for healing, wellness, self-care, and reflection. I have attended family events and community gatherings which never fail to educate and leave me lifted in love. These offerings have not only led to my own self-growth, but have actually led to improved relationships with friends, family, who have also shared in the peace, solace, positive affirmation, and education when invited to these grounds. I look forward to attending the occasional gatherings the Lawrence family has been able to offer on behalf of these family values as well as individual and community healing in Douglas County, if you all will vote for it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor, please approach the podium. You would state your name and address for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Blake Mitchell. I'm a Douglasville native. I currently reside at 603 Irwin Street, Northeast in Atlanta. I'm also representing my mom, Mary Mitchell, who is at 4839 Pool Mill Road here in Douglasville, which happens to be my childhood home that my parents have lived at for over 35 years. I've known Mark and Kamiko Lawrence for 10 years and had the pleasure of co-hosting events at their home, including an event that Kamiko and I did in fall of 2022, where we shared voter registration information with attendees and encouraged folks in Douglas County to participate in the 2022 midterm election. The event was productive, respectful, and encouraged positive civic engagement in the community. On a very deeply personal note, like the Lawrence family, my family has also been impacted by suicide. The meditation and healing events that Kamiko has hosted at her home have been of great comfort and support to my family, especially to my mom. She was not able to be here tonight, but she sent these words: "These events hold space for people to work through their pain and trauma and turn around and give back to the community, just as Kamiko has. Her community is vast and all-inclusive. My life has been touched in a very strong, supportive way by Kamiko and her work." And now me speaking again, any implication that the events that Kamiko and Mark are having at their home are somehow a public nuisance or a detriment to the community is simply not true. These individuals spread nothing but love and positivity around the community, and they should be free to use their property and space as they see fit without interruption. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? If you would, please state your name and address for the record, and then 2 minutes, sir.
Yes, good evening. My name is Mark Lawrence. I reside at 5300 Pamela Drive, Douglasville. Our request is to continue to offer outdoor events on our property at our discretion and following the planning and zoning renewal staff recommendations that the board has received and already reviewed. First, thank you for implementing the community information meetings. I believe that those meetings, at our meeting, which was held on 10/10, was quite helpful in that it revealed key concerns from our neighbors. I'm pleased to state that based on those concerns, we have withdrawn our commercial use request for annual Healing Connections event. We are no longer requesting that the special use permit allow commercial overnight camping events. It was one of the bigger concerns that they had. With this request deletion, we are in full agreement with all of the other elements of the Planning and Zoning Board recommendation. While the community information meeting allowed several of our neighbors to voice concerns, based on preferences and fears, and regarding how we might use our private property, these preferences are not supported by the laws and codes of Douglas County. So we do not see it as productive or an efficient use of time to rehash them tonight or to discuss such matters in depth. We assure the members of the board and our neighbors that our work is rooted in service to the planet, our community, and family. We simply want to continue providing a safe, peaceful space on our property to lead small group gatherings, agricultural education, promote healing, and support physical and mental wellness. We have and plan to continue operating fully within the laws and codes of Douglas County. Finally, it is unfortunate that we, as law-abiding taxpayers, have to spend time and money to gain permission to host peaceful and educational events on our own property.
Okay.
It is my hope that the board will see the benefit of our work and agree with the recommendations of the board.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Seeing no one moving, I will close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application, please approach the podium. You also would have 2 minutes per person for a total allocated time of 15 minutes. I'm not sure, we may have a number of people on this, so if we have 15 minutes allocated. If you come to the podium and you're in agreement with what everyone else says, it would be good to just admit that you're in agreement, nothing new, and let someone else talk, so we can get as many people in as possible. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll try to make this fast. Glenn McGill, 5236 Pamela. My concern is on the utilities issue of the certificate for the occupancy. Yeah, thank you, sir. And in there, the sewage systems, what I'm concerned with, on an on-site sewage system, we're probably looking at a 1,000-gallon tank. The system, according to Douglas County Health and Douglas County, Cobb County Health Environmental, has not been changed since '68 when the system put in them. So the leach fields are probably getting close to being depleted. And at that point, with the added people, according to the average system is a 35 to 40-year system. We're approaching 50 years on this system. And the fact that we are looking at the fact that we're increasing the amount of people going to be there on a regular basis, not a regular basis, but here and there. The average use in the state of Georgia is figured on a 60-gallon per day per person use, so that we're over the system's limits with this. So my concern is with over the system limits, with the excess water in the tank, you have no time for the bacteria to get rid of the solids, moved into the leach field. Leach field moves into the stream, the lake down below. We got a fish kill issue there. We've got a water buffer issue down at below that. I spoke a little bit with the Georgia State Water and Sewer, not Georgia State Water and Sewer, I'm sorry, Georgia State Water Conservation Board. They said it's out of their hands until something happens, but they're real interested to see what happens, because they were recommending that the Douglas County Health Department revisit. Now, that's what they told me they were going to call the health department. So I'm not sure where they stand with that. I haven't any confirmation on it one way or the other.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, I'm Carla Weiser. I live at 5185 Pamela Drive. I have taken Tamika's yoga classes. Okay, so not at her property, elsewhere. But all neighborhoods are different. The purpose of zoning is to protect areas. Pamela Drive is a dead-end street ending in a private drive. No cul-de-sac, not a thoroughfare to any street. Other properties may support these types of activities to be on a thoroughfare street. This isn't. This must be taken into consideration. We all bought our homes in an area on a street because we don't want to live around businesses or city activities. The impact on our neighborhood has affected the way we live since 2018. County code talks about the impact on general welfare on the neighborhood. Passing this new SUP will greatly impact the general welfare of Pamela Drive. It does not contribute to Douglas County economics. It is a home-based, no employee business that only accepts contributions. When you all think of a yoga retreat, you think peaceful, quiet, meditation. Their activities are in complete opposition to this mindset. They use a sound system that broadcasts so loud I can hear the announcements at my house. And the music is so loud that I feel the vibration of the bass in my home with all the doors and windows closed. That's not a peaceful, quiet meditation yoga. If you all vote to destroy my peaceful world, please put in stipulations that no mic, bullhorn, amplifiers, sound system, or any other instrument that increases the sound be used. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you would state your name and address for the record, and then 2 minutes, please.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Good evening. My name is Stacy Hagler. I live at 5231 Pamela Drive, and we're requesting denial of S 2023-68. This denial request in no way is opposing the peaceful nature, healing, meditation of yoga. We just don't want the business activity in the neighborhoods, in our neighborhood. Like Carla said, it's just a quiet, dead-end street, no cul-de-sac or anything like that. The recommendations from the county talk about limiting, but they have increased participation because now we're looking at 25 people on any given Saturday and Sunday. We were learning this week the overnight camping event was scheduled for this weekend. Mr. Lawrence just now said that they have retracted that, so we're happy to hear that. Pamela Drive should not be the host for someone else's activities because many of the events that they have had in the past, other people are the leaders and the hosts for that activity. It's just like the Lawrences have said, they are participants in these events and not hosting these events. Therefore, they felt they were outside of having to stay within their permit in the past because they were participants and not leading it. This is the third time we've been here addressing business activities at this property. Just because it's allowable by the county doesn't mean it should be approved. We didn't buy our homes to live next door to a business that operates 7 days a week in our neighborhood, quiet and peaceful or not. And it's not about our fear. We just don't want the business activity on the weekend. We want it kept to the original permit Monday to Friday. Both permits previously were stipulated to Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 people, even when they asked for some Saturdays. Why is it allowable now that this wide open Saturday, Sunday events is being requested and being entertained by planning and zoning? Small private events were not allowed before. Am I at my 2 minutes?
You're at your
I'm
2
sorry.
minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next person, please. You would state your name and address for the record, and then 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Topkoff. I live at 5185 Pamela Drive. We've lived here since 1999. We're 5 lots north of the Lawrences, about 1,500 feet. There was a meeting a couple of weeks ago that was mentioned earlier for a question and answer session. During that meeting, it was expressed by the people that were there that would be helpful if the residents on the street knew when they were going to have a large function. The Lawrences didn't agree to it, but certainly had an opportunity to let us know that they were scheduling a large function camp out, which was scheduled for November 4th and 5th. If I just heard correctly, that's now been canceled. But we just learned about that within a couple of days, the past couple of days. It's been advertised, so I don't know if it's canceled or not. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this event was scheduled without the approval of the variance they are seeking now. The Lawrences seem to have the attitude that it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. This has happened before. Last year's camp out, other events that were beyond the scope of the approvals that they had previously received. They seem to think that their wants take precedence over the wants of the neighborhood. They are one house out of 17, which the majority of the balance is not in favor of their yoga business functions. We are expected to forego our quality of life so that they, the one of 17, can enhance their business dealings. We strongly oppose the approval of their request. And I want to add, the 3 people that were in favor of their unit, none of them live on our street. The only effect it will have on them is they get to come to the parties. They don't have to deal with the rest of it. So that's my 2 minutes, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this point in time, we're about 10 minutes into our 15 minutes, and we still have a number of people. We are going to hold it to 15 minutes, so if you're in agreement with what's been said before, move quickly, please. Allow somebody else.
My name is Patty Hunlock, and I live at 5206 Pamela Drive. I'm here tonight to request that you deny SUPS 2023-68. Yoga by itself is a peaceful activity, but the Lawrences are known for hosting noisy events with microphones and sound systems. This is a video that I took at 9 o'clock at night on July in 2021. I live 2 houses from Big A Road, and this is what I heard. And they're having a big party at 5300 Pamela Drive with a band. And not sure if this is a paid function or what's going on, but evidence. But anyway, you can understand what we're complaining about. Also, the Lawrences, they do want to open their property for others to use. And of course, they were talking about the camp out, and the camp out was advertised as at the Harmony Wellness Angels Campground. I did not realize that we now have a park at the end of our street. And the camp out was being promoted by other people, not necessarily the Lawrences, but how can they do that? As stated in number 14 in the recommendations on SUP, it says no commercial client overnight events are permissible. There are state parks that have pioneer campgrounds where they can have 100 people if they want. The Lawrences also have a memorial garden behind their barn that they dedicated to the son they lost. The Douglas County Sentinel did an article on it November 22nd, 2021, and in the article, Ms. Lawrence stated, quote, that she intends to open it to the public. You can direct quote from the article. You can certainly invite people to your home to share your garden with them, but open to the public has no place in a residential neighborhood.
Okay, that's your 2 minutes.
Seriously?
Yes, seriously.
Can I say in summary? In summary,
Okay.
this SUP opens up the possibility for
Ma'am,
Lawrences to do
You
what
need
they
to-
want, when they want,
Ma'am, you
in
need
our
to-
neighborhood with
You
essentially
need to let
no
the people
restriction.
behind you. Next, please. You would state your name and address, and you have 2 minutes, sir.
My name is Dusty Cantrell. I live at 5190 Pamela Drive. I am the senior of the neighborhood. We moved there in January 1977. I raised all 3 of my kids there. And this was where I bought because it was a residential neighborhood. It was a dead-end street, and I planned on living the rest of my life in a nice residential neighborhood. I'm just asking you to keep in mind that since it was zoned residential, we bought residential, that we keep it residential and not turn it into commercial property. I know we're limited on time, so I'll hold it at that.
Thank you. Next person, please. You'd state your name and address.
My name is David Hagler. I live at 5231 Pamela Drive, next door to the Lawrences. I oppose. I hope y'all would vote down and deny this permit, please. As they said, they have other spaces they can go to. They have beautiful county parks, state preserves, things they can go to. But I'd like to say, having it on weekends with up to 50 people on the weekend, the parking, the noise, everything. There's one thing in the UDC 334 in prior SUPs, a major concern when considering home businesses in the effect that they have neighboring properties, and as such, the home-based businesses shall be located and conducted in a such manner that the average neighbor, under normal circumstances, would not be aware of its existence. UDC Article 3, Section 334, home businesses. The Lawrences have repeatedly violated their current permit holding events on the weekends and overnight camping event. This neighborhood resides and advertently affected, and we are very aware of its existence. Please this recommendation is now allowing for 25 people, literally 7 days a week, instead of 5 people, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. As our county representatives, please deny this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next person, please. State your name and address for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
I'm Bob Exum, 5266 Pamela Drive. I look directly at the Lawrences. I'm directly across the street from them. Let me put this in a different perspective. Mark and Kamiko, they're good people. The people that spoke for them, they're telling the truth. They're good people, no doubt about it. But no matter how you paint the picture, they're wanting to put a business on our street, a one-way street. None of you folks up here would agree to it if it was coming to your neighborhood. And I just want to point that out. I also noticed the last person that was up here, Yashi, I can't pronounce the name right, but I noticed one of the things that you guys agreed to is the use will not negatively impact the surrounding properties. This will, in fact, negatively impact our neighborhood. Please deny this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, please. How are we doing on time? Got 1 minute.
My name is Andy Davis. I live at 5352 Pamela Drive. My wife and I built our house there in 1990. Our property adjoins the Lawrence's property on the southern border. And I also own an easement that runs up the east side of the Lawrence's property. I've heard everybody speak, and a lot of the stuff that I have to say has already been said, but I just wanted to give you for example. We were here several months ago. He was looking to get a permit to put up a so-called 12-foot high privacy fence. Well, you know, he had already erected that fence prior to the meeting that we had. And not only did he build the fence 12 feet, but a big portion of it he built 18 feet. Well, before the meeting ever came, the fence blew to the ground. And, you know, his words at the meeting were that once his Leland cypresses got big enough, he would take the fence down and use the lumber for other improvements on the property. Well, that fence blew down 6, 8, 9 months ago. That fence is still laying on the ground. And that's just typical of what I've seen go on. The easement that we have, that if you could look at the deed, my name is the only person that lives back there whose name is on the deed. I've been battling him trespassing on my property ever since he moved in. Not necessarily him sending his guests down onto my property. We've battled this. He's called the police on me several times. You could probably find that on the records. I'm opposed to what they're trying to do, and I just wanted to give you those examples. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, folks, our 15 minutes is up. I believe we pretty well get the idea what's going on here. At this point in time, Planning and Zoning Board, well, I'll close the public hearing officially. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the discussion. Do you have any questions of the applicant or of staff?
Rob Thomas, I have questions let me start with staff first. Just want to be clear as to what they currently can do by right and by the current special use permit that they currently have. In other words, if this was denied, what could they continue to do?
If you deny tonight's request for the expansion, they would fall back to the existing conditions of approval. As I wrote up this evening, I was asking that all the previous conditions be rescinded in favor of tonight's approval. So if we don't approve this evening, the existing set of conditions would be still in place. And that is what was listed as over several of the comments from the opposition. The conditions are up on the screen right now. Most importantly, hours of operation Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., no more than 5 clients seen at a time. Again, some of the other conditions have been in place since the very initial approval in 2018. That's what would basically happen if you rescind it tonight, if you don't approve this evening's request.
Okay. So in the issues with the septic tank, has those issues been resolved?
No.
Not been resolved?
We do not have confirmation.
Is there a time limit on that?
No, if this evening, what conditions we were suggesting this evening is that if the approval occurs, then you would only be allowed to expand under the new set of conditions if you can document that the septic system can handle the amount of loading that would occur as a result of increased clients. And until such time as they can prove that the septic system can handle additional clients, they are still restricted to 5 clients at a time.
So they have done improvements? Have they indicated to you that they have actually done some improvements to the septic system already?
A restroom facility was added to their carport at some point in time. We just don't have the building permit review of that and the inspections to confirm.
There's no permits being pulled for that?
I cannot confirm.
Cannot confirm it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Planning and Zoning.
Brandon Penman, I got a couple questions for the applicant, please. All right, so you already said that you're in agreement to all the conditions that are up.
Mhm.
Have you looked into any septic plan to be able to handle this influx if you were approved? Have you already made plans for that already?
You want to answer that?
Just as a point of clarity, there has been no new construction of toilet. The toilet that's being referenced is in the carport that was a part of the original home, the lavatory. So there was no need for a permit. There was no new building. We had proposed that if going forward, we wanted to have a larger gathering, that we would then explore adding more, but we're not at that point. For 4 or 5 people to come to yoga, they can come the carport before you get to the house without intruding on the house's personal space of the house or anything. So it's not, just as a point of clarity, it's not new construction, and there was no coding or zoning required.
Okay, so in consideration of being approved today, where it's going to go from 5 to 25, do you have plans in place to consider the increase of restroom use?
We would, if it's necessary, we would, I don't know what the ratio must be, but this is the toilet and the sink, and, I mean, if the county requires that there be a second toilet added, then we would do that.
Okay. I think the biggest concern or question is more of the septic ability to handle it as opposed to the need for number of toilets or bathrooms. So that was my first question. And then secondly, when we are referring to the new portion of the business, can you just give me a little bit more detail on your purpose for the expansion of the business and going from 5 to 25? Like, what's the purpose behind that?
And I'll address that. So first of all, I want to give some clarity on a couple of things. Even in some of the images, I think what the challenge is that our neighbors don't really know if what we're doing is personal or professional. There is really no way of knowing. In fact, one of the images that was shown was actually the celebration of life for my son, not anything to do with business. the fact that we have gatherings, period, and specifically on the weekend, right? Because during the pandemic, we opened up our property because we were in a pandemic. So we did things outside to try to, just help people, help the community. It wasn't like we were trying to bring in a whole bunch of commercial business. And also, point of clarity, we have not held any event since last year. We didn't do anything this year at all because of, all this opposition that, clearly we have. So and I also want to say the recording that my neighbor played of Whitney Houston singing "I Will Always Love You," yes, it was outdoors. You heard it because someone was singing. But anyway, so to answer your question, we have had 25 family members, 50 family members on our property at our home for holidays, for personal, private gatherings that have absolutely nothing to do with business, right? So I'm really struggling with everything is not business. I think the assumption is because if you see yoga being practiced, you believe that that is a business event, but it is not always the case. So I don't know, like, am I supposed to go, hey, we're having a personal event, hey, this is not personal? Like, that seems to be a little bit much for me. So the numbers are the same as they've always been. And Monday through Friday, we're not doing anything Monday through Friday where we have any type of large gatherings. And in fact, the cadence or frequency of anything that we do is nothing in regularity. We're not trying to have every single weekend, every single month, this kind of like perception of all these people coming in and destroying the neighborhood. That's not the case at all.
Okay, so in regards to the special use permit for today is to allow for outdoor events from home. So can you just give me more vision as to what that exactly is?
Yeah.
And the need for the increase from 5 people to 25?
Right, because 5 people was specifically for indoor.
Okay.
We were talking about having, because we have such a large outdoor space.
It's approximately 10 acres?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And just the open space itself is like 3 acres. Okay, that one side, which is adjacent to the northern neighbors, which is typically where we do things, close to the barn, nothing near the street. So that is because 25 people can sit out on the lawn, have a yoga practice, and go home. Sometimes it's personal and sometimes it's not. It's not always business.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Last thing I just want to mention to Phil, I just want to acknowledge personally that you've done a masterful job of putting together, trying to find a median in the plan that you've created. And I just want to say that publicly. I appreciate your effort. That'll do.
Okay.
I got a question.
Okay.
Yes. Neighbors talked about the music, the sounds. And I know that's, it's quiet time, and I know that, where you located, that is, I have neighbors, and I understand when they play music and they do things. A lot of times they come over and say, I'm having a party, I have an event at my house. I just want to let you to know that's taking place. Now, I know you said a lot of things are family-oriented, personal. Are you letting the neighbors know that's adjacent to you? I know sometimes you ain't got to let the neighbors know everything that you do. But when you having something of this nature, maybe like an event where families coming up, going to be music, and your neighbors know to the left or to the right of you, in the front of you, hey, we're going to have some people over. We just want to let you know that. So if and we will be done by a certain time frame.
Right. So to answer that question, no, we have not. It's not been, we've not really felt welcome to do so. The last time I knocked on my neighbor's door, it was pretty hostile, so I chose not to. So that's number one. And number two is the reference to that particular outdoor event where there was singing was in 2021. And then Ms. Weitzer, who read the letter about she hearing it 4 doors down, was one event we had in 2020. We've never had anything else, and when we heard that complaint, okay, we was like, well, let's keep the noise down, and we've never violated the noise ordinance. We know that in Douglas County, there's not to be any noise after the hours of 10 p.m. at night, and we've never had anything that went beyond 10 p.m. at night. So we try to be very respectful in that way. And that's personal, not even business.
No, you cannot. Just,
you know, I understand the situation that we face here. And you being able to, I do yoga, so I don't have a problem with it. But I understand that the neighbors around you and some of the things that they feel, because they want their privacy. I get that. I get they want their privacy. Try to do things to help out. And once again, Phil, I really thank you because you came to the point of trying to make a happy medium for this. We have to look at this, and we definitely have to make a decision on this. As we all know, some people are not going to be happy. But I'll go ahead and yield.
Just have are there any of the neighbors that you can have a relationship with if anything is going to happen that weekend that you can talk to, that they can get the word out to the rest of the neighbors? I know in my situation, where it's noisy, someone is either going to call me or going to call the. We were able to take care of that right then and there. But any.
Okay, thank you for that question. So after our community meeting, I stuck around to talk, and Ms. Hagel and I actually spoke, and I even called her after the meeting to say, hey, what would compromise look like to you? And, you know, just in an effort to extend a hand, you know, I am always the one asking, hey, no one's ever come to me like, hey, can we work something out? But I did ask, and the answer that I got was, compromise looks like you not having any yoga, period. And I don't want to continue the conversation. So that's kind of where we left it. I'm not sure, look, I'm very open and flexible to finding common ground. I've asked for it. Like, my thing is, like, there has to be a compromise. It can't just be, well, this is what we want, and we don't want our neighborhood. It's our neighborhood too. I hear this reference about our street, our neighborhood, we've been living here, as if we don't live there. We live there too. We've raised our kids there. We have the same care for our neighborhood as our neighbors do. I think we're just very different in what we see as acceptable and not acceptable. It's not that we're not willing to say, hey, can we have a conversation? I'm happy to have a conversation. If there's one who wants to identify themselves to be sort of the point person, if it's Stacy Hagler and she wants to talk to me, I have her number, she has my number. We can talk. And I'm happy to say, hey, Stacy, we're doing something this weekend, just so you know, you can let the neighbors know, whatever.
There's no party. It's just.
Yeah, I think party is subjective. And what one sees as a party is very different. You know, like sometimes it's a dinner party. So, you know, I'm very much an outdoors person. I like to do things outside. And honestly, the pandemic pushed us outside. We couldn't do things inside anymore. So we saw that as a way of resolution, not as a way to create more contention in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Rob Thomas, I have a couple questions for the applicant. So I've been around long enough to see you guys here before and before and before, right? And everyone else as well. So I'm very familiar. This is actually my district as well.
Okay.
There have been violations. There have been things that, for example, you putting up the 18-foot, you know, wall there. I mean, so things that you did outside of getting permission, right? You have not complied with everything that was from your last special use permit, correct? Are you familiar with the ones? Let me make sure you understand what I'm saying. Your current special use permit, in compliance with that, are you completely, you understand things that you're not compliant with that particular?
Not, okay, so I'm going to address both of your points that you made. I think in regards to the fence or the wall as it was described, so that was a mistake, right? Like, it wasn't that we said, oh, we're just going to do this and we're not going to be in compliance. That was a knee-jerk reaction that my husband went and did because of a verbal threat that came from our neighbor. And while it wasn't the right thing to do, no, we did not think of it like we have to go and ask permission to do this. I think that's part of it too. Like, we look at things like, okay, well, we live here, we pay taxes, it's our property. If we want to have an event on our property, we'll just have an event. I think I'm not from this region of the country, although I've been living here for 19 years. So we've had to learn like what the practices are and what you have to ask for. We asked for this initial special permit in an effort to try to come forward and not do things sort of behind the door, right? Like in terms of being in violation of our permit, no, because Monday through Friday, small clients, we've done that. As I said, when the pandemic hit and we started doing things outside, honestly, I didn't even think I had to even ask permission for that. I'm just like, well, let's just go outside because that's what we want to do. And everything that we did, again, wasn't business. That's why, so I didn't look at it like I need to come in here, I need to ask, go back and say, is it okay if we are able to do this outside? Having the voting event that we did, that doesn't fall in lines with any business. So once again, I don't see that as a reason or need to come and ask permission or notify people that this is something that we want to do. So if that's the thing that we need to do going forward, or this is the kind of way we need to kind of operate, then that's just new information and we'll take it accordingly and apply.
Look, in my business, I'm a big advocate of use of their personal use of their property or property rights.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. However, this has been an ongoing situation.
Yeah.
And over about 3 or 4 years now. And I think it was referenced from one of the opposition that it has to conform with the neighborhood, right? It's not just your property rights and I got 10 acres, I do what I want to, especially if it's zoned residential.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a commercial site, right? And with that being said, they do have input. I know you can say, well, this is my property, I do what I want to do. That's not totally true. That's why we have zoning. That's why we have special use permit to allow the neighbors to chime in or to let them know what you want to do, and they can chime in to oppose it. So that there is the avenue is for that reason, not just this is mine, I do what I want to do. There is processes in place to ensure that everyone is acknowledging of it and have their voice being heard pertaining to it. So as you can see, it was a very large turnout each time. This is not the first, second, or third. This is the third, I believe, time that we've been here. And so we cannot avoid their concerns, right?
Yeah.
I know you said we had a community event, information event, and you try to hash out certain situations and requirements and what's acceptable, what's not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this one thing. You guys have in my HOA, we have a Facebook page within my HOA.
Mm-hmm.
You guys may consider doing that as well. I mean, even with what you have right now, with your current special use permit, maybe even start a Facebook page for the community. So where you can keep track, people can know what's going on. When there's an event for your business, or if there's an event for personal, and post it. We do that all the time in our neighborhood, just as an idea to get the word out. With all that being said, my concerns really is primarily the noise, the cars. Again, it's not a cul-de-sac. You can't, there's no way to really turn around well at the end of your street. I've been down there. So you're talking 25 cars or so. It's just going to be a bottleneck to be trying to turn around and leave out of there. So I do understand their concerns with the traffic. Someone else mentioned about the septic tank. You said you haven't done any improvements yet at all? Nothing at all? You haven't expanded it all? Okay.
We haven't had a need to. But I do want to say with the traffic, there's no traffic because when people drive up our driveway, we have a circular driveway, so you can drive completely around and go out. There's no need to go down to the cul-de-sac.
So you just go around yours and just
go around around our house and go out that way. So there's nothing going down to someone else's down the street. That doesn't happen.
I might just address the noise for just a moment. This is not about, this is our property, we do what we want to do on it, and we have no respect for the neighbors. This is simply about the distinction between what is a commercial gathering of yoga or a handful of people, 20 gathering of beekeeping and training or some kind of agricultural training on the lawn versus my wife's mother is one of 13. Can you imagine what Thanksgiving looks like at our house? Okay, so you're gonna tell me, you can look out your out your window, and you can tell me whether I'm having a family gathering or whether I'm having a yoga visit. And you won't talk to me. You won't accept an invitation to have a communication. I'm not sure what to do. Tell my wife and her family they can't come over. We can't have gatherings and cookouts and pool parties like everybody else does. We also hear music.
And
Also-
shots fired and fireworks and all into midnight beyond noise ordinance. We never complain about anything like that. We don't, go out and, we don't have a gun range on our property, but we just, if neighbors want to shoot guns or shoot fireworks or whatever have you, it's their option. No one notifies us when they do things.
Another question about the conditions. There's several conditions, 15, I believe, right? And pretty in-depth as far as the septic tank, because you were in the Dog River Basin, right? And have a lot of septic tank requirements in order to make it large enough, build and everything large enough for you to support as many people as you want to support. Costs with that, are you guys already got something in place or have a contractor? Are you assessing the cost for all these improvements and all these conditions? I'm just using that as one example, but there's several conditions on there. Have you assessed the cost? In other words, we don't want to come back a year from now, just calls and it's like you didn't do it, you still haven't done the septic tank, So we want, if it is approved, the question I have is, have you already count the cost to improvements that has to be made?
To my knowledge, there's currently no violation in these septic tanks.
I'm not saying there's no, I'm saying the conditions, or if this is approved, the 15 conditions. You said you were aware of them, you saw them, but there's cost involved. And have you count the cost? Because again, we don't want to, if it is approved, come back a year or so later and you haven't done it. And then the neighbor's back saying, look, they ain't even done the things they just said it was going to do, and here's a year later. So have you count the cost? Have you looked into the cost of all those improvements?
Of adding a septic tank, is that what you're asking?
And a septic tank and the other conditions, yes.
The other conditions, yes. I have not priced out adding a new septic tank. With all of the gatherings that we've had, all the cookouts, all the Thanksgivings, with 50 and 75 people, we have never had an issue with our septic tank. However, if you'd like me to go, I can easily go get a quote, find out if it got to a point where it, violated some kind of code, then we would just buy a new septic tank or have it. But for gatherings of 5, 7 yoga students for my wife to, or even 25 for a beekeeping training, a couple of hours, I don't know that we need. I could be wrong.
That's what I'm saying. That's one of the conditions. You would work with WSA, or you would work with environmental to determine the size. Ms. Wright, you would contact environmental Ms. Wright that can determine the size. But that's what my point is. That is one of the conditions. And if we just say you didn't look into it or haven't priced it out, give me pause, because there's going to be a substantial cost to that. Okay, so and we don't want to come back here again for calls saying that you didn't do it, and now we got to, now neighbors saying, see, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. So I just want to make sure that you understand that if it is approved, that we were going to be checking. I think it's 1 year, right? 1 year, we're going to come back and verify. And if it's not, then we will bring it back for calls. I just want to clarify, bring that point up.
I did ask Phil, what do we have to do? Are we supposed to call environmental protection? I think, call and make an appointment.
Yeah,
so,
Susan Wright.
So that's kind of where we start. We have to start with that process. We haven't gotten the approval, so it's no need to do it until we actually have to take the steps, right? Because
I'm just saying count the cost, but I don't want to keep belaboring this. I'm just saying that there's quite a few conditions, and you raise your hand and say, yes, I'll do them. But are you really counting the cost of doing them, is what my point is. But nevertheless, I digress. I will yield.
Is there
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for staff, please.
Okay, one more quick question, then we'll move it to the commissioners.
On the screen, you have the conditions for the existing special use permit. Could you put up the conditions for tonight's request? Because we keep looking at 5 people on those conditions. It's not that anymore.
So just to make it very, very clear, if you approve this evening's conditions, the condition number 3 is what I think Commissioner Thomas was getting at. There is a requirement that they have the septic system evaluated to say whether or not it has the capacity to handle more people. If it does, then we would have that confirmation from the health department. If it does not, then they would be required to add to the existing septic system or install something new. And until that step is done, only 5 clients can be seen as the current conditions require. They're limited. Until you get past this first step, as you were trying to point out, that's what's in place right now.
And the other conditions, like one referenced parking, screening, and your recommendation is for landscaping?
Landscaping to screen parking. No parking within the first 30 feet of the driveway touching the street, because that's normal for DOT to stop people from backing out into the travel lane and causing conflict as people are coming into a driveway. So the first 30 feet, you don't get those first few spaces that we saw on their parking plan. If there will be parking down towards the street, then we asked for some screening with additional landscaping just to make sure that you are keeping that residential character protected to the degree that we can. And then that's why we were asking that the arborist be responsible for reviewing landscaping to make sure it meets his standards for screening.
And next, I'm going back to the septic tank. Because it is in the Dog River Basin, isn't it a requirement that property owners have their septic tanks
Pumped every 2 years.
Every 2 years, and has that been the case on this property?
I do not know, because I don't know how often it's been inspected, but you're correct. There is a health department requirement that we handle septic systems a little differently in the Dog River.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Schaefer.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Schaefer. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Throw it over to the Board of Commissioners for any questions you may have of the applicant or of staff.
Board of Commissioners, you have any questions or comments?
Yes, Chairman.
Vice Chair Carson, please.
Okay, so I'm with Mr. Thomas. We've seen this 3 times, and each time I'm saddened by the way it turns out. It's one side of the street against the Lawrences. It really saddens me because 10 acres is a lot of property. I'm pretty sure that your neighbors have large acres property too. It's one of the things that, drives you out to that area. And yeah, it does. It saddens me. I knew you all before I became a commissioner, and it was through the yoga, it was through the meditation, it was through the healing. Just absolutely phenomenal. To hear that people don't want it, it's so sad to me. But I'm going to take my personal feelings out of it now, and I'm going to put on my commissioner's hat and say that your permit was approved before I became a commissioner. So obviously you've continued to do what was needed. Again, I applaud Phil, Schaefer, Allison, all of them for working with you all to come up with a plan that would address some of the concerns of your neighbors. But some concerns that are not stated but are blatantly right here tonight can never be addressed, and that is what saddens me. I'm hopeful that this board will take a look at the recommendations that the staff has put together and that you have said yes to, and that this can be resolved. With that, Chairman, I yield.
Anyone else? Commissioner Robinson.
Having sit through that, I have to say something. Gotta take this off. Okay. I did on my vice chairs. I get it. Come on, Douglas. Come on now. I get it. But it goes both ways. Lawrence. Different than hers. Huh. Well now. Oh. This is one of those where I can go both ways. I can go both ways. You want me to yell it? Okay, I got you. I can go both ways. I see pros and cons of the attitudinal that's in the room. I can see how it's like, ooh, how do they coexist? How you gonna make this work? This is simple for me. It'll take me 30 seconds. Done. Here's my position. But how are y'all gonna coexist but as neighbors? You know, I too am disappointed for different reasons. Lawrence doesn't know why. And again, I'm just getting to know you guys, so but I get it. And I'm dead serious about my position, Mike. And I actually hear points on both sides. I'm honest. I'll call it like I see it. But every now and then you gotta take a position. For every yes, somebody wants a no, and for every no, somebody wants a yes. So with that being said, I've framed it, and Mr. Chair, I'm going to yield for now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Alcaraz.
I'll try and speak so you guys can hear me back there. You know, a couple of things as I just sit and listen to this. You know, I'll agree. I love it when neighbors actually get along in their community. The street that you guys have, being born and raised here, I know very well. You have it. It is a little in street, but as Commissioner Robinson said, there are points from both sides. Do I believe that the Lawrences are good people? It very much well seems that way, and I know your intentions are meant for the good. But I guess the only thing that just really, I would say, is listening to all this that concerns me is to be considered as when we buy our houses in residential areas, we know those are residential areas and are not a place for business. And I applaud entrepreneurs. I applaud small business. But it's just something that I personally am having to consider is not saying that I'm not going to say how I'm going to go right now. Saying that I would ask that we be open-minded as what we might just open ourselves up to for all residents who buy their homes in a residential area.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson brings up a great point about coexisting. The problem with coexisting is one is residential and one is commercial, and that's always had a hard time coexisting. So from that viewpoint, I understand why there's people on both sides of the aisle tonight. You do seem like very nice people, and that you want to continue your yoga practice. And I certainly understand that. But the way I judge things is a simple way. Would I want it in my neighborhood? And the answer to that is no, I wouldn't. And I don't like that I feel like I have to tell you that. But I would not want a business where up to 50 people could come into my neighborhood on a regular basis and participate in whatever activity they wanted to participate in. I don't think you will ever have an issue with the county as far as having Thanksgiving and Christmas and all your family gatherings. That's a totally different thing, and you don't have to tell nobody what you're doing. But the what I measure things by is what I want it in my neighborhood or want it next door to me. And the answer to that for me is no. We yield back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Planning and Zoning Board.
No, I'm sorry,
oh.
Vice Chair.
Question for the applicant. Will you please come to the podium?
I'm sorry.
Just for my own clarity.
Yeah.
Is this commercial? Is this for commercial uses?
No, I think, again, Commissioner Carthen, that's where I think we're having lots of challenge here. Because when I asked for this permit, it was like I looked at it as all encompassing. Like I wanted, it's not a commercial. Commercial means, I don't know, let's define that, right? So are you talking about if you ask people, if people pay money to come for your services versus if they don't? Is that what we're saying, commercial? Yes?
Business purposes, commercial, 8 to 5. You are running a full-fledged business. People are coming in to pay you. You're going to have cars every hour on the hour coming down Pamela Drive. Is
So
this
that's
a
a no.
commercial business?
No. Then I'm going to say no. It doesn't fit that criteria. It's a
many?
little challenging because, you know, if I want to have, I just heard Chairman Miller say, you know, you don't have to tell anybody if you're planning to have 50 people at your house and it's your family. Okay, well, if that's the case, then, and if you guys say no, then you cannot conduct any business here, okay, then I will just walk away, and be that as it may, I would just say, okay, then if we want to have friends and family, the commissioner told me I don't have to tell you anything. I'm not collecting any money. These are my friends and family. This is what I choose to do. I can let my neighbors know or not know if they want to talk to me or not. I don't have a problem even saying that to them then. Like, hey, we're going to have something on the weekend.
So then why then for the special permit?
Because that's what, the reason why we came for this special use permit, because we were told, like, even if you accept donations, not that we're having anything ticketed or we're selling tickets or anything like that, if you accept any type of money in exchange for service, is considered a business. That's why. Trying to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe my honesty is working against me in this case. But yeah, just out of sheer being honest and transparent.
Thank you for that. How many events have you had in the past, let's say 24 months?
Okay, in the past 24 months, I had one last year. I had 6 events in 2021. We've had 0 in this year. So a total of 7 events I've had in the past 24 months, to answer your question.
So 7 events in the past 24 months. How many of those were donations?
Everything we did in 2021 was donated, with the 2022 last year was, we collected, well, another organization collected on our behalf. That one was collected for. In 2021, everything was donation based. There was no ticketed event in 2021. Of the 6 events, all were donation. Nothing for sale.
And people come in and donate based on what they want to, and some come in and don't donate anything to you.
That is correct.
Right, because I know when I had you come to there was nothing collected.
Nothing, and I don't ask for money,
I
right?
know you don't.
I just do it out of service.
I wanted the public, because people are also listening to this on Facebook. They're looking at this on YouTube. So there are others who are looking at you all, right? You just happen to be the test case scenario for this, right? Because culturally, our people, we have a lot of events and a lot of people to come. I'm a native of Atlanta, so yeah, 75, 80 cars on my street. My neighbors will tell you that, you know, Christmas and Thanksgiving, it's a lot of us. And I've never once told them that we were having it, but because we have it annually, they just now know, right?
Okay.
It's just now. However, if this is commercial, that's a totally different thing. If this is a 7 or 8 events a year that you and your neighbors you know, will or will not have to deal with because of where your property is situated. I hope and pray from tonight that there is some conversation from the neighbors, even the ones who have sent me emails regarding this. We've got to have another way in order to be neighborly in this community because we're too diverse now. So if it's not commercial, and you said it's not, and you're willing to abide by those stipulations and conditions, I'm hopeful that this will pass for you. If it does not pass, you tried, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if I may be able to ask a question, but I would love to know, how do you have a conversation with people who choose not to have a conversation with you? I mean, if you reach out, you extend the hand, you say, hey, you call, you show up, you knock on a door. I'm not sure how to mitigate that.
It's okay. It's okay. You do the best that you can, and then you let God do the rest.
Yep.
It is,
okay.
you know, but if this is not commercial,
right,
and I'm hopeful that it is not, because I'm with, you know, Chairman Miller. I wouldn't want, you know, 50 cars coming down the driveway where I live at every day from 8 to 5 either, right?
And we don't.
So but from what I understood from you and what I understood from staff was that this is for special use events.
It is special. That's why, yes, the special use permit for special use events is not for 5 days a week or 3 times a month or any of that. It's not that type of cadence at all. It's just when we do have special events, it's on the record that these things are permissible. That was the purpose of applying for this.
Thank you. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. If I may, just as a final point of clarity on commercial, the definition of commercial, we don't want a Burger King on our street either, right? We're not trying to disrupt the integrity of the community with any of that. So there's nothing in between from what we're asking in commercial.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, sorry about that earlier, my microphone. I'll get closer. Again, we have been here once before. I remember Tomorrow World. It's something about, again, I go back to coexistence. Well, I got a beautiful speaker bar. I'm a DJ, but I have to be sensitive. I get it. I don't get to see nothing. I just get to listen. I get it. But here's what I'm discerning. I'm reading the spirit like, okay, but y'all being very intelligent about this application, man. I'm like, okay, don't okey doke. Don't do that. I'm like, okay, but you're framing, this is very intelligent. You're framing for permission for tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, but why'd y'all change all of a sudden that you don't want to do this overnight? That ain't just for friends. It's how it's being done. It's like, we back here. It's like, It's about intentionality. It's like, this is intelligent. You're framing for this. Is it genuine? It's like, yeah, I get it. But I'm listening to this is easy for me. Like, okay. But and we're framing. It's like you're saying this, but you really. I'm looking at the spirit like, looking dead at it. Now, this one is like, we're going round and round with this. Like, I get it. It's a lot of massaging of words and a lot of framing. It's like, wow, I don't take all that. They don't take that for communication. Y'all are grown. Y'all are mature. Right. Y'all second, third generation. We ain't talking to the school system down there. Y'all know how to do better than that. We can, but it's understanding. It takes time. How do we do this? Come on, guys. You got more information on the internet to figure out stuff. Mental health, yoga. Come on. This really is just an application for zoning. We need to call it, but I get it, Douglas. We can do better. I got to yield, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We would like to turn it back over to you, sir.
Again, thank you. Thank you very much. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the discussion. Do I have a recommendation, please?
Chairman, this is Rob Thomas. I'd like to make a recommendation to deny application 2023-68 a request for special use permit to allow outdoor events from the home in the RLD residential low density zoning located at 5300 Pamela Drive, Douglasville.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, this is Teresa. I second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Planning and zoning, do we have any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, it seems to me that a special use temporary, that at some point move that out of the
Perhaps. Any other discussion? I call the question. All in favor of S 2023-68 denial, please indicate by raising your hand. All opposed? Okay. Let me see, all in favor of denial? 3. 2, 3. All opposed? 1, 2, 3. That means I make the decision. I'm in favor of the denial. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Planning and Zoning Board is recommending denial of S 2023-68 on a vote of 3 to 4 in favor of denial.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, we have a vote by the Planning and Zoning Board, 4 to 3 in favor of denial for S 2023-68. Do I have a motion? Or do you have any comments?
I move that we approve S 2023-68, a special request for a special use permit to allow outdoor events from home in the residential low density zoning location, the stipulations and conditions as recommended by staff.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval of S 2023-68, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion is denied by a 3 to 2 vote. Thank you for everybody participating.
Do you need a vote to deny?
We voted to deny 3 to 2.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, you've got our next agenda item, please.
Yes, sir.
I thought they did.
Z2023-69. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from RA to RHD for a townhome community located at 2616 Skyview Drive, Lithia Springs, 3012.
Yeah, let's give it another minute for the folks to exit the.
Let's try this again. So the applicant is requesting a rezoning from RA residential agriculture to RHD residential high density for a townhome community located at 2616 Skyview Drive, Lithia Springs, 30122. The applicant is proposing to construct townhomes. Staff does not have concerns regarding the proposed use. However, a large portion of the property does have floodplain. Section 308A1, every townhouse or multifamily development must contain a community recreational amenity of adequate size, of variety to serve the development, such as community pool, tennis courts, tot lot, basketball courts, sidewalks, or bike trails. Before you, I have the zoning map. The subject parcel is highlighted in yellow. and there's an arrow currently pointing to it. Just below, there is a community. And I just wanted to make a point of reference that at the community information meeting, members of the community did come out and state their grievances against the rezoning, traffic being one, as well as potential use of their community facilities, as well as people potentially parking on Skyview that are visiting the potential residents of the townhomes. Before you have an area image of the property. And this is a survey of the property. So this is a street view of the property. As you can see, it is undeveloped. There is a fence around it. And just to give a better reference, the image on the left is a north view looking north on Skyview Drive, and the picture to the right is looking south on Skyview Drive. And before you have the site plan, so it is proposed that it's 62 townhomes. As you can see, a large portion of the property is undeveloped, and that is the floodplain on the property. And before you have concept plans, and this is just what the applicant has done in other areas. As you can see, Woodstock, East Canton, and Mableton. And these are the proposed models for the home. You have the Maddox, which I believe is the smallest, 1,733 square feet, three bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, garage. Here you have the Norwood, 1,814 proposed square feet, same amount of bedrooms and bathrooms. And here you have the Ellison, the largest, 1,920 square feet, same amount of bedrooms and bathrooms. And based on the zoning criteria, staff feels as though the criteria has been met. Staff recommends approval of rezoning from RLD to RHD. The rezoning with the following findings and conditions. The rezoning will not modify the intent, purpose, or spirit of Douglas County Unified Development Code. The use is permissible. Its proposed zoning district are generally compatible with surrounding properties. The character of this area has been evolving towards residential development for years. The granting of the rezoning will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare with the following conditions. The first condition, the applicant shall submit to DRC for review and consideration, specifically site development and access management plans to address development standards in the UDC and the concerns and requirements expressed in the specific agency's impact statements reviewed in the staff report dated October 30th. 2, the proposed access to Skyview Drive shall include a deceleration lane per county standards, 5-foot wide sidewalk along the entirety of the property frontage, curb and gutter, underground drainage structures. 3, provide streetlights along the entire property frontage of Skyview Drive. 4, the existing right-of-way of Skyview Drive does not meet the minimum required right-of-way width for a minor arterial roadway. Additional right-of-way equal to 50 feet from the roadway center line shall be dictated to Douglas County to meet the minimum right-of-way width. And that concludes my presentation, and the applicant is also here as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium. We have allocated 15 minutes, and that is 2 minutes per person. If you would state your name and address for the record before you start, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Joe Padilla. I'm with Smith Douglas Homes. Our address is 110 Village Trail in Woodstock. I'm going to be very brief. I know it's been a long evening, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about who we are as a company. We have not built in Douglas County before. We're very excited about this opportunity, and as we do with all of our communities, we really want to come into a municipality or a county and partner with you all and really have an opportunity to come back and do additional projects. We were founded in 2009. We are based in Woodstock, Georgia. We build in 6 southeastern markets, delivered about 2,200 homes around those markets last year, on target to about the same this year. We're very proud of our streetscape. We're very proud of the product we build. I had up or not? Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, you've seen our elevations, our streetscapes. We're excited about bringing this product to Douglas County. With me are Connor Thorpe with our team, and also from HRC, we have Avery Ward, who did our civil design, and we are in agreement with the conditions proposed by staff, and here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you agreeing without me asking. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium. Seeing no one moving, I'll close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application, please approach the podium. We have 15 minutes allocated, and that would be 2 minutes per person. See, we've got a number of folks here, so in order to get everybody in 15 minutes, if you're in agreement with what was said previously, just let us know that and let the next person say something else. Appreciate it. The name and address, sir.
Name is Derek Houston. Address is 1749 Silver Way, Lithia Springs. I'm the president of our HOA across the street at Silver Creek Ranch. I'm opposing this primarily, first of all, the egress and ingress in and out of that particular property is adjacent to our egress off of Skyview Drive. There's a lot of traffic going on in Skyview. In fact, when there's accidents on 285, that's a thoroughfare off of whether you're coming off of Thornton or whether you're coming off the back entrance, which is Mount Vernon, right? There's a lot of traffic. It's a 2-lane highway. Right now, we're making a left-hand turn if you're coming off of Thornton, turning into our subdivision. There is a quasi left-hand turn lane, which is probably about 8 feet wide. It's not even regulation. And if you put this development directly across the street from ours, the way it's depicted, not up there, but in plot map that I see there, it's going to be very hard to make a left-hand turn out of our subdivision, or for them to make a left-hand turn out of their subdivision, if they were to put that amount of units there. So I'm opposing it on that alone. It'll create a lot more traffic. We also have commercial that has moved in down the street from us. It's just, I've been in the community since 2000. A lot of traffic, a lot more traffic is coming. The commercial traffic, commercial buildings that they built, and I just don't see it being viable, just on traffic alone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, if you would state your name and address, and then you have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Judy Blair McDonald, 825 Beach Valley Road, Lithia Springs. I'm going to tell you about the Blairs and the Jameses, just so it serves for the context of what I'm trying to get across. My family was in Douglas County, some of the first ones, and Blair's Bridge Road is named after my great-grandfather. On the James side, the first mayor of Douglas County was my great-uncle. The first mayor of Lithia Springs was my great-grandfather. So when you talk about communities, you're talking about mine way back, and some of you as well. I'm concerned when you say a townhome community. What about mine? What about the ones all around Lithia Springs? We have been inundated with warehouses and apartments. And now here we go again with another proposal for townhouses. We have pedestrians on Skyview Drive as well as traffic. We have a bridge that was flooded, and we had a new one built, but we don't have a sidewalk for that bridge. So people in Lithia Springs, contrary to the one built in Douglas County, in Douglasville, we don't have a way to walk on that bridge, and so people just stick to that very ridge on the side of it just to walk to the store from those apartment buildings that already exist. That's just some of the problems. And so I come from a community that's asking, what do we get out of any of this? Let me just say from the Lithia Springs Small Area Plan Amendment to the Douglas County Comprehensive Plan of 2021, Lithia is referred to as having a, quote, strong community identity and pride, but...
Your 2 minutes is up.
Already?
Yes.
Limited by infrastructure and environmental challenges at Sweetwater Creek. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yet?
Not until you state your name and address for the record.
Okay, my name is Manley Gilmer, and I'm at 3207, 3502, I'm sorry. And I'm opposed to this particular project in Lithia Springs. And this is going to be short, so it's not going to take long. We are opposed, those of us that are standing against this, for several reasons. The Skyview Drive is actually a state highway road that is already overcrowded with heavy road traffic, and I agree with the former speaker about that. We have autos, small trucks, we have even 18-wheelers now going down Skyview Drive. It is a dangerous place, frankly, to see and to be on. And anyway, these 18-wheelers are now coming around trying to dodge the inspection station on I-20 by coming down from South Sweetwater intersection to Skyview Drive and ending up on Thornton Road and then cutting back into I-20. So we think that they are trying to get by the inspection station. But anyway, that's just to mention why there's such traffic. Not to mention the number of school buses and so on that we see now. In other words, we just about had all the heavy traffic we can bear right now without adding more to it with a new subdivision of townhomes. We are concerned about the site of the planned house community being located near or partially in a designed designated floodplain area. You all remember what the former speaker just said about being flooded. You remember that, almost a century storm. The Skyview was closed. The floods were out of the. That is it.
That's it.
Well, anyway.
Thank you very much. We get the concept here. 2 minutes goes quickly. If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Tammy Tatum. I live at 1870 Silver Creek Drive, Lithia Springs, Georgia. I'm in opposition of the 62 townhomes across the street from our community. As everybody else has stated, our communities, Silver Creek Drive, Aspen Drive, Skyview Drive, the other one, it's become a disaster zone. We, like he stated, we have 18-wheelers dodging the way station. We have children coming from other communities to come over to use our amenities that our HOA fees pay for. They come over and damage our stuff. We can only expect that it's going to get worse. Commissioner Robertson, you listen to District 2, your constituents. Listen to us today. We do not want this. We are for homes going across the street, but the proposal we are against. Please take our feelings, our homes, our environment, and our community in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Hood. I live at 1688 Silver Creek Drive. I've lived there for approximately 26 years. I also happen to be a licensed general contractor here in the state of Georgia, building residential homes. My main concern is if you just look at the plot of land based on the flood elevation on the land, that they're basically pushing all 62 homes to the left, which almost lines up all 62 homes right in the front of the entrance of our subdivision. So from a valuation and from aesthetics, I think it's going to bring down the valuation of our community, which at this time is at the highest it has ever been, because we have maintained, through strong leadership of our HOA, we've maintained the valuation of our homes. And I think looking at the front elevation of these properties, you know, maybe if they were of a higher caliber, I mean, I think Douglasville has grown to the extent that we can bring in a higher caliber of homes to the area, and not sort of this cookie cutter townhouse infrastructure. And by that reason, I would ask that you all vote no against this subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Hood. Good evening.
I'm Dana Pope. I'm also a resident of Silver Creek Ranch at 1035 Aspen Drive. I am against the townhomes being built across the street from us. One, as Mr. Houston said, the traffic. I dare not even try to walk across. I see people trying to cross the street to get to the gas station on a daily basis, and it's just like playing the little froggy game and hope that you don't get hit by a car. I mean, driving and making a left out of our subdivision is a risk in itself. You already can't get out the back just to get to Sweetwater to go walk the trails and go fishing. And so now we have another obstacle to face trying to get out the front of the subdivision. And also with the townhomes, my experience from being in other townhome subdivisions is the parking. Where are the people supposed to park? All their driveways are right next to each other. No townhome subdivision that I've ever been in has accommodated for them to have family and friends over. The driveways are short. They don't have, you can't put a full-size vehicle in the driveway. A lot of them are single garage doors to where only one car can park. So you have no way to even have a function of yourself, a birthday party or of anything like that. So they will be parking over in our subdivision because they have no space to park. And then they're putting them at risk also to now play froggy to try to get across the street and not get hit, trying to get to their function across the street. We pay HOA fees, and we do not want people coming over to use our parking areas or our amenities because their area doesn't fit their needs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pope.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Cecilia Myers. I'm at 844 Aspen Drive in Silver Creek Ranch subdivision. I am definitely opposed to changing the zoning from what it is to high residential density. The reason is because it's very difficult now. We got 2 warehouses now. We've been living in this subdivision since 1995 when it was being built in the process. It's very difficult in the mornings to make a right out of Skyview Drive, onto Skyview Drive, going towards Thornton Road. Nearly impossible to make a left in the morning time during rush hours. And this subdivision, as it's planned, their entrance will be directly in front of our entrance. So you're talking, there's no lights there, and you're talking about it's going to be a lot of accidents. It's just very dangerous. So when you bring up the point of whether or not it is, will be a detriment to our community and to the health and welfare of people, that is absolutely, it will definitely be a detriment. Not only that, but if this zoning is changed, it's my understanding it could also be apartment complexes. yes, they're saying they're gonna be townhomes, but it'll open it up to where they could also, that zone will also allow for them to build apartments there. I also understand that now they're doing these townhomes, they're leasing them, they're not even selling them, which really is just like an apartment complex. That's just nothing else that we need. We already have one across the street, going out the front of the subdivision. You go out on the back of the subdivision, there's apartment, as soon as you go across Monier. It's just not a good thing for our community at all, with the flooding and the parking situation also as well. It's not gonna be good for our environment, not gonna be good for our kids. We already have people coming from the apartment that are going to our pool area, accessing our amenities. We just don't need that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. How much time do we have left on the 15? 2 minutes.
Hi.
One more speaker.
Okay, my name is Deborah Wilmore, and I'm at 808 Aspen Drive. I agree with what Cecilia Meyer said as well. I leave my home at between 5:30 and 6 in the morning for work. I can barely get out of my subdivision making a right turn, and that's with traffic at that time. Can you imagine when they build their townhomes? It's going to be harder for me to get out. So that means I have to leave even earlier. Our subdivision is like a drive-through. People come from the back to get through our subdivision, especially when 20 is backed up. So I do oppose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We actually have a minute left if you would like to get in.
My name is Monique Jenkins. I'm at 799 Aspen Drive. When I look out of my front door, I would look directly into the subdivision. I agree with what everyone else has said. The developer or the petitioner has said they want to partner with Douglas County and they want to do more business and they're excited about it. But do you want to partner with the community that you're building in? You've done nothing to say, hey, let's talk about this. What is the impact to you and what changes are you going to make this better? So I'm against the zoning as well as the petition to build this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all the comments. At this point in time, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and Zoning Board, do you have any questions of staff or the applicant?
Questions? As zoned,
Based on the current zone 1. Based on the current zoning 1. Oh, if he's subdivided 12 acres. Is that what you're asking?
based on the current zone.
If they subdivide, it could be 10 homes.
Flood zone.
So apologies, I'm assuming this is 12 acres, I think that's correct, tell me if it's wrong, if it's 12 acres. We do our determination based on gross density, so you get to count the entire acreage of your property towards your yield, right? So right now, RA zoning, I believe, so that's a 0.85 unit per acre, right? That's what they're allowed, so not a full 1-to-1, a 0.85 unit per acre. I believe they have sewer available, so that's gonna give them the flexibility to build smaller, well, actually, I think in the RA, is it only 1 acre lot? I would have to double check and see what the minimum lot size would be in that. Is it 1 acre? Sorry, got my numbers turned around with the RLD zoning. Under the conservation subdivision provision, if they wanted to take advantage of that, there would be some ability for them to get basically the 10-unit yield, but they could get it on the smaller acreage if they were able to set aside the green space, which my guess is they probably could figure out with the amount of floodplain they have. So that is a very quick answer to a somewhat more complicated question, but I hope that kind of addresses your concerns on the property. Right.
Next question, Mr. Worthing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
We've heard a lot of complaints about the traffic.
Sure. So, as part of any kind of review like this, it would go through the Department of Transportation and they would do a traffic study on it. If the traffic study warranted that intersection improvement, it would be done. If it's not warranted, it would not. Thank you.
Before you leave, just a minute, I have a question for you as well. You done, Kurt?
No, you go ahead. I got further go ahead.
Since you're up here, what about offsetting the exit entrance of the other subdivision? Offset it from the, not directly in front of the other subdivision, but.
So DOT typically prefers an aligned intersection. So.
Oh, okay.
If you.
Come on up.
This is
Okay.
Carla.
How you doing? I know you was back there. All right.
I'm the traffic operations engineer.
All right.
So at DOT, your question about the traffic signal, there's probably not enough traffic that would be coming out of either of these streets to warrant a traffic signal. I agree that there probably needs to have some widening on Skyview. A gentleman was talking about the left turn is not sufficient, and it probably isn't from what I'm seeing on the map. What was your other question?
Offsetting.
No, it wouldn't. It would not. It could actually cause more problems to have it offset than to have it together, because then there would be people that might, in the offset, might be turning in while someone's trying to turn out from a different subdivision. It could cause more traffic problems if it was offset.
A question for you. I know that some of the people that talked about their semis coming around that way to, is DOT looking into that? Have you got complaints for
Yes, we're currently working with the Sheriff's Department, their traffic control section. There is exactly what a gentleman mentioned. There are trucks that are cutting through to avoid the way station.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in talks with the Sheriff Department to try to solve some of those problems.
Okay, that was my.
Any other questions?
I have a question for the applicant.
Thank you.
Yes, I heard some of the residents talk about lease versus ownership. Are these going to be ones that they can buy, or are these going to be ones that they can lease?
These will all be for sale units, sir.
All for sale units?
Correct.
Okay. Did you know that, you hear about some of the residents having the issue about already having traffic, and then now you're going to have some more traffic, that's 60-some homes versus, being townhomes versus being regular homes, which would be what he talked about, maybe 8 to 10 homes on this prospective property. Have you talked to the residents about some of the things that you're facing, what they're facing based on these new townhomes being put in the area?
So I was not at the community meeting. I believe our consultant was.
Okay.
I was under the understanding we did not have turnout from the neighborhood at that meeing. I could be mistaken about that, but.
Okay. I would have to take that over to staff if did it.
So initially, we did not have any residents from the community. We did have one woman did show up. She did show up a little late, but she did show up, and she was the only person from the neighborhood in attendance.
Okay. All right. I yield.
Any other
I have
questions?
a question. Yes, sir. What would be the price point?
Well, these are going to close in the low 300s, we believe. We are an option-driven builder, so we let our buyers customize every townhome to a very wide degree. So typically, we see a buyer coming in and putting everything in from more expensive countertops, cabinets, flooring, you name it. So if our base price, which we expect, and again, the market can change, I don't want to predict, but we expect these will close somewhere in the low 300s.
One of the concerns too with that.
Sure.
Residents in the area mentioned about amenities. They indicated that individuals are coming to their units and utilizing their amenities. Would there be any amenities for these homes?
So for this community, we would have, and we believe right now we're planning a tot lot, possibly a dog park. We're gonna, as we get closer to opening the community, work with our marketing team to determine what they're looking for. We find more or less with a lot of our buyers, especially in townhomes, that they're not looking necessarily for an amenity. I think in this location, the location is the amenity, proximity to I-20, proximity to downtown, and the ability to get around. We generally don't find that our buyers are looking for an amenity, anything larger than a tot lot or maybe a dog park.
No pool?
On a community of this size, no, a pool would not be economically feasible or warranted.
Thank you, sir.
Just a minute, I have a question, Rob Thomas. I noticed that the green area is your floodplain area, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What can you do with that? Can you even do parking? You do anything at all?
No, that the intent is to stay completely out of that. And obviously, for reasons that were brought up by the residents, we certainly don't want to exacerbate any issues with flooding or anything else. So the cluster development that we're proposing allows us to completely stay out of that floodplain. And then in terms of, you mentioned parking, all of these homes will have a 2-car garage, and then the parking pad is sufficient for another 2 homes. We also have guest parking proposed at the kiosk, the mail kiosk. Not sure if you could see it. It's toward the top there, right about the middle, that third section of homes. There is additional guest parking as required by code. So we don't anticipate with a townhome of this size and this driveway, any issues with guest parking.
Even the smaller ones, the 1,700 square foot?
They'll all have
those
2-car
also have
garages.
two-car garages?
Correct, and
Okay.
and the same size parking pad. Yes, sir.
Any other
Thank you.
questions, planning and zoning?
I have a question for the applicant. Will you have an HOA?
Yes, all of our communities are HOA managed.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, I'll throw it over to the Board of Commissioners for whatever questions you guys might have.
Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Robinson.
Real quick, clarity, is this District 1 or District 2? Staff?
Yes, Commissioner, this is District 2.
God, it's right across the street now. Just stay with me now. Don't buy it back now. District 2 is. Thank you, Silver Creek, for being here. Appreciate you. Senior Center, Community Center, all came out of y'all. Got it. Appreciate your vocalization. Got it. Now let's get into the work here. Yeah, straight out of college, lived 1990 in the apartments across from y'all. Right. Our adult life began right there. I got it. I walked up and down that street, drove, got it. There's nothing more intimate you can tell me about that area, that quarter, and what this means. Coming to the office in 08. Oh my, that great flood. It was a 500-year flood. 21 inches in 3 days. What do we do? We lost 17 bridges, 58 roads, 7 lives. With a creek right there, that bottom flatbed, flooded. Remember all that. Remember I-20 was flooded. That Chattanooga Road that high. Got it. That corridor with the warehouses, I get it, guys. That's Liquor Springs, my yes. He's like, woo. Woo. Slow this thing down. Slow this thing down. We're cramming. We're buying, just hear my soul. Y'all know this is my last round, so I'm going to call it like I said. You got to be careful here. You can't just drop stuff in. You got to be thoughtful. You got to smooth this thing out. I understand land, I get it, like, okay. This one's not that hard, but it's, you got a lot of trucks. I get what the sheriff is gonna do, but we need, if Ronald's back there, if he's not, he may not be here tonight. But make sure we put that on the list, like, right, yeah, what are we gonna do about Skyview, Blair Bridge? My mom lives across the street, across from the sheriff's office. Got it. But this one I get purely. So, I don't really have questions. My fellow peers just need to vote their conscience. I'm pretty clear on this one. Mr. Chair, I yield.
Questions? Yield back to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the comments, you've heard the questions and answers. Do I have a recommendation or a motion on Z 2023-69?
This is Frank Payne. I recommend denial of C 2023-69 request for RA, RD for a townhouse community located at 2616 Sky Drive.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Or Kirk, second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor of making a motion to deny Z 2023-69, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. All opposed? Okay, Mr. Chairman, Z 2023-69 comes to you with a recommendation for denial.
Board of Commissioners, we have a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Board for denial of Z 2023-69. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I ask the Board of Commissioners to join me in denying Z 2023-69 as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of denial, raise your hand. All opposed, same side. It's unanimous, sir.
Thank you very much. Oh, Ms. Duncan, do you have our next agenda item, please?
I do. I'm going to recommend,
Right, want to give it a second for folks to clear the house. Hey, we only got a couple more hours to go. We only got a couple more hours to go.
Y'all serve dinner at these things?
Okay.
all right, Mr. Chairman, one of the things I'm going to recommend, we had some text amendments, and then we have a show cause hearing for Brandon Glover. I'm going to recommend that we maybe move the show cause hearing ahead, in the interest of respecting the time of the applicant, in favor of the text amendment. So if there is no opposition to that, I will turn it over to Mr. Johnson.
I believe we're fine with that. Yes. Mr. Johnson.
So the case I have before you, S 2022-48, a show cause hearing. So this case was originally heard in June of 2022, and the applicant was approved for rezoning from general commercial to heavy commercial and a special use permit to allow automotive service and repairing under the highway corridor overlay with the conditions you see before you. Since then, the applicant has not satisfied all of the conditions, and upon the review of the 1-year anniversary, these conditions have not been met. Additional site improvements for paved parking or driveways and for construction accessory facilities will require review and authorization prior to installation by DRC. The applicant will coordinate with DC DOT for access point alterations and other issues along Bowden Street. and the site shall be developed in such a manner as to maintain safe, vehicle-free area over the septic tank and field lines serving the premises. Before you, I have the zoning map. Maybe a little hard to see, but it is the parcel with the arrow pointing to it. And before you, I have the aerial image of the property. Survey. And before you, I have a front view from Bowden Street on the left and a rear view of the property on the right. Since then, the applicant has put up a fence, however, has not cleared the area of the septic tank. And based on the special use permit criteria, staff is recommending the rescind of the special use permit S2022-47 with conditions. However, if S202247 is not rescinded with the following findings and conditions. The condition being the removal of the following condition from S2022-47, additional site improvements for paved parking or driveways and for construction of accessory facilities will require review authorization prior to installation by the DRC, and the applicant will coordinate with DC DOT for access point alterations and other issues along Bowden Street. So in essence, staff is recommending that it be rescinded. However, if you do choose not to rescind, that the following condition be added. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone wishing to speak concerning this matter? I guess we don't have a for and against at this point in time. This is a show cause, so if you'd like to give us an explanation or...
Okay. Hey, my name is Janicia Denard. I'm a representative for Brandon Glover.
State your address too, please.
903 Kite Lake Trail, Fayetteville, Georgia, 30214. For as the, what'd you say, the paved driveway? Everything else has been done. From my understanding, the septic tank is on the inside of the building, and where the car, it's like a little car garage, is nothing right there because that garage is not being utilized. So that has already been covered. I think the only thing that has to be done is the paved parking. But currently, right now, we are in the process of selling the building.
Okay, so you're saying that what they're saying here has been done?
With the exception of the pave on the outside. On the inside, it's already been paved. The outside of the building, like outside of the fence, that part hasn't been paved. But from the fence
you haven't gotten together with Douglas County DOT to work on the paving outside and the egress and regress?
It was confidential information from my understanding. When we did reach out, they told us that that was up to the county to do because there was a public sidewalk, and they were saying they didn't know, and it was just too much confusion. So from my understanding, Mr. Glover has already listed the property for sale.
And what about the septic tank parking on the
There's
drainage field and septic
There's no
tank?
parking on the septic tank. The septic tank is inside, and it's like right in front of like one of the little car garages, but it's sectioned off, and no cars go over it. There's no working right there in that car garage.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question, Rob Thomas. So,
Okay, so we still need to have a, okay, all right, thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this action? Seeing no one moving, I'll close the public hearing. Okay, now, Planning and Zoning Board, questions?
I have a question for the representative. You mentioned that Mr. Glover has it for sale. Is he currently conducting any business there?
No, not really, because we have another business. That's one of the reasons why we're selling it.
What is he using it for? Storage? Because it's like a lot of vehicles in there.
No, it was for business. Like, it was business going on, but as of date, there's none, because it's for sale right
So,
So there's no reason.
so not being utilized as a business, is on the market. However, what's the intent? So are you going to, is he planning on doing these improvements, even though it's for sale? You mentioned for sale. That's not really a reason not to do these improvements. I know you're representative, but let's make sure that it's clear. That doesn't allow him to not do what was approved and what was agreed upon by him when he got the special use permit in the past. So
Yeah, when we came and got the special use permit, and we thought it was gonna be just easy, just 1, 2, 3. However, when he reached out and we tried to get contractors to do it, the thing kept coming up. Oh, normally that's what the county do. That's what the county do. So it was a lot of confusion, and like I stated, it's just something that got left by the wayside because we have another business. So it's like, I don't think we're something that we're just gonna do anymore. We're just gonna sell the bill.
So if this, in this hearing, if it goes against you, or go against who you're representing, understand that it means you cannot conduct any business there. It's gonna almost like revoking his license or business license.
No, that's one of the issues, because even with getting a business license, that was something that it prevented us into doing. That's the only thing that we really have to do, and that was one of the issues. So it's really like hands tied, because we can't get the business license in regards to that.
Because of the issues, you can't get a business license.
Right. So
There's a moot point. Might as well don't even do. So you plan on not really doing nothing else. Just leave it like as is and just sell it as is.
Because it's really like for us, it's like okay, we really don't know where to go from here, and it's preventing us from even conducting our business. So it's like, what do we really do?
Okay, I just want to make sure you're clear as to the consequences. Okay, thank you. That's all I have for you.
Any other questions, planning and zoning? Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'll throw it over to the Board of Commissioners for any questions you may have of the applicant or staff.
Thank you, sir. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Dobbs?
So I have just one question. So you say you already moved on. You were never able to establish a business license at that property?
No.
So now you've gotten to a point to forsaken it and you sell it?
Yeah, because we don't know how to move forward with like getting this sidewalk done, and it's really we really don't know. When we reach out to the contractors, they keep telling us it's the county responsibility, and even when it comes to the money part, the money is just a lot to ask for right now. So that's the only thing that's preventing us to get our business license. So if we can't do that, we can't obtain a business license. So really, what's our other options?
I understand that, but if you were able to work something out and figure out a plan, a path forward with the county, figure out what the process is and who's actually could be responsible, would y'all be willing to do that, or you at a point now where you just wash my hands?
We'll be willing to do it. It's just been a year, so that's a year, and that's affecting business. However, we still have that, so bills and stuff still have to get paid. So it's just really like, okay, you gotta weigh your pros and cons, but if somebody would be willing to point us in the right direction and we can work forward, then we will take it off the market so we can get it done, so we can obtain a business license.
Okay, and now, have you been up here to actually, have you had a discussion with planning and zoning to kind of figure out that process, or maybe with the Department of Transportation?
We talked to Department of Transportation once before, and then we talked to somebody in the business license office who was letting us know like we had to do that even in order to obtain it. No contact was made after that. A whole year went by, and it was just really like everybody just forgot about it. As I stated, we also have another business, so once they didn't follow up, it was really just that.
Okay, Chairman, are you?
Anyone else? Back to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. You may sit down. Oh, sorry.
So, Director Worthington, can you come forward?
Ma'am, good evening.
Good evening. Solution to this. Can you offer one?
So, as far as sidewalk and doing entrances, they just need to talk with the Department of Transportation. set a plan forward. Now, there will be expense with that. But it is typically not the county's responsibility to do additional entrances or sidewalks that are associated with a development. So if they're bringing this up for some particular development use, typically fall under their purview.
Okay, so the site plan that Mr. Johnson put up, the line where the county, the public right-of-way is, and theirs is delineated. Is that right, Mr. Johnson? Can you put up that site plan again and show us? So the public right-of-way, or what they believe their contractor said should be county portion versus what is their portion.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm a little lost. So what exactly are you asking?
So Director Worthington, can you help us?
So are you asking who would typically do the work on each side of the line?
Right.
Is that what?
And where is that line? So we're looking at the site plan, but to her point, what portion of it is it actually the county's or is it actually theirs? Looking at that site plan, the delineation.
So there would be a zoning condition that they had to put it in. What would typically happen with a general development, regardless of this condition or anything, but would be the applicant or the developer would put that in.
Got you.
It would be inspected by the Department of Transportation. The portion in the right-of-way would become, it would get accepted by the Department of Transportation. It would become county assets, but it would be installed by the developer as part of their requirements for development.
Okay, and that was not understood by you all at the time that you accepted the conditions, that was part of getting this business off the ground. How much have you spent so far? Come to the mic for me.
From my knowledge, a healthy amount. Mr. Glover, I don't have an exact number, but I know with the fence, getting the paving on the inside, trying to think of what else he had to do. And it was some more stuff that he had to do, but I want to say, probably, I know he's over at 15,000.
Got you. Understood. So you're going to put it up for sale to try to recoup your money and get out of it. Understood.
Yeah.
I yield, Chairman.
Anyone else? I know I'm becoming the anti-sidewalk person, but are there sidewalks adjacent to that property on either side?
So again, in regards to the condition, this was approved as a zoning condition at the time that it was, the zoning sorry, let me start over again. This was a condition requested by the Department of Transportation at the time that the zoning was approved. To the extent that there are sidewalks in that area, I would say it's piecemeal about where they currently exist. To the point made by Director Worthington, part of the strategy of building our infrastructure in the county is that as properties transition in use, we capture those properties and we bring them up to the most current requirements. In this instance, you would have the option to remove that condition, that is requiring for the construction of infrastructure. I would want to make sure that we have a reason for doing so because it would set a precedent. We got involved with this property because they have been working out there. They did not pull their business license. Their business license was held up because they did not make the required improvements that were the zoning conditions put in place by the board. So that's why we bring these back to you to say we made an inspection at 1 year. They have not complied with your requirements. So you would have the option to change the requirements and let them continue forward, give them a certain amount of time by which to make improvements. Or you could rescind the use altogether because they have not complied with your conditions.
May have answered my question. You may not have. Are there sidewalks?
They're piecemeal. They're hit and miss in the area.
What's the closest sidewalks to?
I'd have to look at the aerial to figure it out. Again, these were the conditions given to us by the Department of Transportation. And so we just administer their requirements that are within the code.
again, the anti-sidewalk guy sometimes. Okay, all right. Thank you, I appreciate it. Anybody else? Commissioner Alcaraz.
Okay, minus the sidewalks.
So we do believe that based on what we've seen out there for site inspections, that they are parking on top of the septic tank area. If that's something that Mr. Glover would like to, again, continue through with his approval for the occupational tax permit, they could have environmental health go out there and make inspection to confirm that. But based on our inspections out there, they did comply with the fence requirement, which we appreciate that. But they have a number of cars parked all over the property. They have not, from what we have observed, complied with the requirement to stay clear of the septic tank. But again, we could ask them to continue forward with their approvals if you were inclined to remove the sidewalk requirement and then have the environmental health department make inspection in regard to the septic tank.
One thing that's holding them up is sidewalk. For some reason, I thought paved parking.
So they have made there was some requirements for improvements to the parking, correct me if I'm wrong about that. They did make some improvements, but again, in not continuing through with the approval for their occupational tax for their business license. To my knowledge, the environmental health department has never made inspection as to whether or not they are clear of their septic tank area. And our observation when we have gone out there is that they are parking cars in proximity to what would be the drain field of their septic tank area, so. If you were inclined to table that, I'd understand that the applicant's representative is saying that there's cones around it. But if you would like to table this until December 5th, we could ask them to file for the environmental health department to go out and make inspection in that regard, if that is a issue in which we need greater clarification.
Representative, just taking out, like, willing to figure that out in this time, or like my question before, septic tank and.
Yeah, I know. But I know for a fact that it's cones around the septic tank, because that was one of the conditions. So we purposely put the cones right there in that garage where the septic tank is. That garage is no use. So it may be a car parked like right in front of it or on the side of it, but it's not over it because it's sectioned off.
Okay, because we're bringing back to one question from before. Just want to know if you are willing to start and move forward with a way ahead to continue the business, or you all want to just go ahead and watch it.
If we can figure out the sidewalk thing, I think we'll go ahead and continue.
Okay. Chairman, are you?
Commissioner Robinson.
All right, real quick, hey, while I as a commissioner can't be your business advisor, I do that for the records. Just put a lawyer back there. You have to take your own position. I would not be opposed to tabling this for you to. We started getting into language about you selling it and doing this, and like, okay, guys, pull up now. Pull up. That's what I'm back to. What are we being asked here? We're leading now versus regulating, making our decision. So let's. I'm going to yield. I made my comment. You guys hear me, and I'm going to yield, Mr. Chair. All right. See where y'all going to go with this.
All right. Back to you, sir. Back to you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the discussion. Do I have a motion?
This is Brandon Penniman. I make a motion to table this application until our December 5th meeting, or table this hearing until our December 5th meeting, to give the applicant time to check in with environment about the septic tank and see if there's anything they can work out in regards to the sidewalk.
Okay, that would be application S 2022-47, correct?
Exactly, application S 2248.
48?
S 2022-48.
Okay, because the other slide you had up there had 47 on it. Okay, okay.
Rob Thomas.
I have a motion, I have a second.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to table until 12/5/23, 6 p.m. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, comes to you S 2022-48 with a recommendation to table until December the 5th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
Board of Commissioners, we have a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Board to table S 2022-48 to the December 5th, 2023 meeting at 6 p.m. I have a
Chairman, I move that we table to the December 5th meeting at 6 p.m., and that is application number S 2022-48.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise. We approve the tabling.
Thank you very much. That'll give you a little over a month to take care of this. Ms. Duncan, what do we have next, please?
All right, so we have some text amendments that were presented at our last meeting. If you are inclined to take up those amendments at this time, we would look for you to untable those text amendments.
Okay, so we need to untable these UDC amendments. Planning and Zoning Board, do I have a recommendation to untable?
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation that we untable the.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Rob Thomas, a second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of untabling the UDC amendments, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, we're sending you a recommendation to untable the UDC amendments that were tabled at the last meeting.
Board of Commissioners, we have a recommendation from Planning and Zoning to untable, I guess it's Article 2, Section 210, Table 2.2. Is that right? Or is that all inclusive?
It's a variety of text amendments for
Okay.
Articles 1 through 6 and Article 15 of the Unified Development Code.
Have a motion.
Chairman, I make a motion.
Motion and second, all in favor? We approve the tabling. Untabling, excuse me.
All right. So we did present these at our last meeting. I certainly want to respect the time of the board. Start my staff report by saying there is nothing time sensitive about any of these text amendments, so we're happy to go through and speak to any of them in detail. The Board of Commissioners had asked for a little bit more time to review at our last meeting, and so we're happy to proceed with that this evening, or we're happy to withdraw and place them on a future agenda as we recognize that there is nothing time sensitive within any of these amendments this evening. So, did we?
Point of order, real quick, so there's nothing time sensitive. Do we have one more meeting in December? It sounds like we do have a December.
We will have a December 5th meeting.
That will be the
That's
last
correct.
one of the year.
That's correct. At that time, we had planned to bring forward, so this is Articles 1 through 6, what we kind of call the first half of the code that deals mostly with zoning districts and more zoning directly related issues. We have amendments for the back of the code that tends to deal more with our development standards. If the board would so choose, we would be happy to present all of those together at our December meeting, and we would be certainly willing to withdraw these at this time and bring everything forward. Again, just in the interest of time, respecting that we've had some long cases on the agenda tonight, and there is nothing time sensitive about any of these amendments. So.
To my peers, I would recommend bring them all together at the last meeting, but again, I respect you guys. It's time. I'm glad about that. Yes, sir.
Do you have an idea of how much time?
Well, so again, we presented them at our October.
We might have to split it up, is what I'm saying.
We presented this at our October 3rd meeting. We have given you a memo of the highlights. I can certainly go through and highlight the ones that we think are substantial changes, or we would be happy to recommend, we would be happy to withdraw these at this time and bring everything back for December.
Just guess the
5th.
time. Just how long do you think, in your opinion?
How long do I think these meetings will go? I mean, I can be done in 90 seconds. Our staff reports are 90 seconds, in case you noticed that. You ask all my
We'd like
staff.
to make a motion about the December 5th meeting.
They have 90 seconds to convey their point. So.
Back to you, sir.
Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the discussion. Do I have a recommendation? Do we want to continue, or do we want to table until December?
Continue.
If you can do it 90 seconds.
If you can pull the 90
Mr. Chairman,
seconds
not
off.
hearing a motion, I believe we're going to move on. She's got 90 seconds.
All right, start timing. So what you will see in these slides are the highlighted areas are the things that I would say are the most substantial changes. There are a number of adjustments that we are making to the code that are kind of small fixes, but anything highlighted in yellow are things that I would consider to be substantive changes that will kind of change how we do business. So particularly Section 210, Table 2.2, looking at references to Sections 419 and 420, these relate to a variety of industrial uses. So we are recommending here that we change the code so that any new industrial use within these sections that is over 50,000 square feet requires a special use permit. Currently, right now, you tend to see industrial uses if they require rezoning, or if the specific use requires a special use permit. We are requesting to put a size threshold in there so that anything that is over 50,000 square feet in the industrial districts would automatically have to come to you. We have made some changes in regard to convention centers and personal care homes. Again, these are the types of things that when they come before you repeatedly and we see you making the same decisions over and over, we recommend changes to the code. So that's what you have in Article 3. In regard to Article 4, Division 1, Table 4, 0.03, 4.04, and 4.05, we've clarified the requirements for an easement to be used for cutting large lots. This is related to a recommendation in Article 5 in regard to road standards. So we're suggesting in Article 5 that we change the language to make it clear that in a major subdivision, you have to cut in a road if your subdivision meets the definition of a major subdivision. And we just changed the language in Article 4 to clarify that easements are only allowed for large lot subdivisions and not for major subdivisions. And then again, you see here the same thing in Article 4, Division 3, that reference to the 50,000 square feet for any new industrial building is going to require a special use permit. And then finally in Article 15, we did change the definition of a major subdivision to reflect those recommendations for Article 5. So I don't know that I'm quite at 90 seconds, but that is the quick version of the substantive changes that we are proposing to the amendment. But again, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Duncan.
I might just do, I can't remember if we did a hearing on these or if we just tabled them at the last meeting. So I might just ask that we just do a quick hearing in favor and opposition, just to make sure we cover that. So.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know if we had a public hearing or not.
Went over a couple of, we went over those. I mean, BOC would have some time to
So there was no public hearing.
digest it a little bit better. Yeah, it was no public hearing. We tabled it.
At this point in time, we'll have a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the text amendments, the UDC amendments, please approach the podium. Seeing no one moving, I will close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the UDC amendments, please step to the podium. And again, seeing no one moving, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the discussion. Do I have a recommendation?
Mr. Brandon Penniman, I make a recommendation to approve the amendments that have been spoken so far.
I have a recommendation to approve the UDC amendments. Do I have a second?
Frank Payne, second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of approving the UDC amendments as stated, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
It comes to you with a recommendation to approve the UDC amendments as stated unanimously.
Board of Commissioners, we have a recommendation to approve the UDC amendments as stated. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a second. I have a second. All in favor? You want to talk?
Discussion? Got to do discussion.
Do I have any discussion?
Chairman, I would like the floor.
You have it, ma'am.
So, in regards to Article 3, restrictions on particular uses, tell me quickly about mobile food vendors and car washes.
Okay. Are you looking at the agenda? Because we did not actually bring forward any specific text amendments for those sections. The only amendments that we advertised them and we put them on the agenda initially, but the only amendments we're proposing to Article 3 are Section 325 into convention centers and Section 340 in regard to personal
So the rest
care
of
homes.
these are not in question. They will stay the same as you have them
Correct,
printed. in the-
correct. And I apologize for the confusion. We do have a long list of items that we
Right.
had identified as issues, and there were things that as we started to look at, we weren't quite ready to bring them forward. So in regard to those two, these are the only things in Article 3 where we felt like we had the direction clearly to move forward. The other ones kind of involved some feedback from other departments that we weren't quite ready to bring to you yet. But in abundance of caution, because we have to advertise so far in advance, we want to cover all of our bases so that we make sure that we're, meeting our public notice requirements. And then if we have to dial it back, that's.
So
what
in
we're doing.
regards to Article 3, the only ones that we are voting on tonight is Section 325 Convention Center and Section 340 Personal Care Homes.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right.
Let's move on to Article 5 subdivisions. The definition of minor, major subdivision.
Right, so there was a little bit of confusion. We modified to remove the word commonly. So the distinction between a minor and a major subdivision is a major subdivision use the phrase commonly require new improvements such as roads. There was some confusion about that as opposed to exempt subdivisions. So those are things like your large lot exemption and your lot recombinations and your one lot splits and things like that. So we just cleaned that up a bit to take out the word commonly to say major subdivisions do require the improvement of new infrastructure, including roads, because that aligns more closely with the interpretation of Article 10, which gets into, again, the back half of the code, but more of those design standards. So, and then again, clarify that new roads are required to be installed. Where new roads are required to be installed, they must meet the criteria of the Unified Development Code. So again, that's that Article 10 provision.
Thank you. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Oh, you already did the motion? You second? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, same. Motion approved, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Having nothing else to come before this board, meeting is adjourned. Mr. Chairman.
It is
Thank you.
adjourned.
Push on through.